Hi, I'm Jen,
I'm Serena.
And I'm Ed.
and you're listening to Every Rom Com, the podcast where we have fun taking romantic comedies seriously.
This week on Every Rom Com, we're continuing the wedding series with a story about a woman determined to sabotage a wedding.
We'll take a wedding music trivia challenge as we discuss a film that features karaoke, a sing-along, a first dance, and more.
And we'll explore the rom-com trope of the gay best friend as we talk about the 1997 Julia Roberts rom-com, My Best Friend's Wedding. Hey, you two. Nice to have you back again.
Hey, Jen. Hey, Ed.
Hey guys, it's good to be back.
You guys are now the 1997 crew, because I'm pretty sure this is only the second movie we've covered about 1997 after Chasing Amy, and you were both there for that as well. I thought it was funny anyway.
Good year, I guess.
Yeah, pretty good year. Yeah. So as you can see, we've got Serena with us, and we're also welcoming back Ed from the Greatest Song Ever Sung Poorly karaoke podcast. So we're glad that we've roped you in again.
I'm very easy to rope in.
And kind of inspired by your show, actually, I decided that this week, and also our conversation last time where Serena said she liked doing trivia, I decided that this week we would do a trivia challenge. So it does involve music trivia, but it's also music trivia related to weddings. So I hope you guys are ready, because Lee thought they were really difficult.
Okay.
Oh, and if Lee thought they were difficult, we are boned.
I mean, I don't know. Trivia, a lot of it's dependent, on your area of expertise. So, you might be great. We want to give it a try anyway?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so the first question I have for you relates to the music that is usually played at weddings. So a lot of times at a traditional wedding, you will hear one song when the bride is coming down the aisle, and then one song when the bride and the groom are leaving together married at the end of the wedding. So the first song that's played when the bride is coming down the aisle, it's called the bridal chorus, and it goes dun 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 dun. So my question for you is, who wrote that song?
Wagner.
Oh, right off the gate. Very nice.
Wow.
I forgot, I guess that's 1 point to Ed, but I haven't really established any kind of prize or anything, but we'll try to keep track of this. Okay, so that's good right away. Serena, would you have gotten that, do you think?
No, I have no idea.
Okay, so yeah, the answer.
I just assumed that song was called Here Comes the Bride.
Yeah.
I guess not.
As did I. I did not know about this until I did the research for it. So yeah, that was Richard Wagner who wrote that song. Okay, so then the second question is, there's a song at the end of the wedding. Dun, 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 dun. You guys get the drift?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the question then is, who wrote the wedding march commonly played at the end of weddings? I may have stumped you guys on this one, and I don't have a hint prepared either.
Yeah, no idea.
I'm going between two. I'm going between two because I did take a classical music class when I was an undergrad, and wedding march. Was it Mendelssohn?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
2 points for Ed. 2 points for Ed. Yes, that would be Felix Mendelssohn. So there's an additional question about that song. So that song was originally written by Mendelssohn in 1842, and it was inspired by a Shakespeare play. Which play was it written for?
Much Ado About Nothing. I have no idea.
That's a good guess, but not the one. It's one of the... Go ahead.
Adam would get this one. My co-host would get this one because he's a big Shakespeare guy. I'm a big Shakespeare guy, but trying to think what.
Well, Serena was pretty close.
Yeah,
and actually, it's funny because it's one of the other plays that I directed too.
Oh, A Midsummer's Night Dream.
Okay, oh sorry, I should have let Ed wait.
That was that was like a Jen trivia question. I win the Jen trivia.
Yeah, but you were also really close with Much Ado, though. Do you think you would have gotten that if I hadn't given Serena an unfair hint?
No, I don't think I would have.
Okay, so we got 2 points for Ed, 1 point for Serena. I'm giving that to you, Serena.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, that was great. Okay, so moving on, I have a couple questions for you related to music in wedding movies, and particularly music in another movie by the same director of My Best Friend's Wedding, P.J. Hogan. So P.J. Hogan, the director of today's movie, also directed the wedding movie classic Muriel's Wedding, starring Toni Collette as Muriel. So here's another 3-part question for you. Okay, sorry, I like the many-part questions. What band is the character of Muriel obsessed with in the movie?
ABBA.
That's right. 2 points for Serena now. All right. Okay. Follow-up question. What song by the band ABBA does she perform in a lip sync contest with her best friend, played by Rachel Griffiths? So what ABBA song do they perform together in the lip sync contest?
I'm going to just wager a guess because I've never seen Muriel's Wedding. Rachel Griffiths was in this also, wasn't she?
Yeah, it's a role.
I'm going to say Take a Chance on Me. I'm just guessing, though.
No, not Take a Chance on Me, but good guess.
Is it Dancing Queen?
No, not Dancing Queen. I'll give you guys one more collective guess.
A collective
guess.
You can talk together. I'm not going to give you a hint.
Okay, what?
Oh, wait. I'll give you a hint, and this will be really easy when I give you the hint, but it's God. Okay. So the song relates to history.
Waterloo.
There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, so what does that put us at? You have now 3 points, I think. Serena, you have 2? Yeah. Excellent. You guys aren't keeping track. I mean, come on. Sorry. I'm reading the questions. Keep track of your points. Okay, and then the final question. Which song from the band ABBA does Muriel choose to play when she walks down the aisle for her wedding? And it's thematically appropriate, people.
Thematically appropriate.
A bit of a deep cut, but thematically appropriate.
Okay.
I'm obviously the only crazy ABBA fan.
Yes, you are. I mean, I love ABBA, but I'm drawing a blank.
All right, one more.
Another hint.
One more hint, and if you guys don't get it after this, you won't get it. So the title of the song is also words that you might say during a wedding ceremony. 3, 2, 1. Okay, the song is I Do, I Do, I Do. So it's like, love me or leave me, take your choice, but believe me, I love you. I do, I do, I do, I do, I do. Yeah, and fun Jen trivia fact is that my first wedding, which of course we divorced after 2 years, but it was a great wedding. We played that as we walked back down the aisle. Yeah, you were there, and we played "Come What May" on the way up to the minister, and then we played I Do, I Do, I Do afterwards. It was a very
Moulin Rouge, Come What May.
Yeah, but it was like like a slow version of it. It was from the second Moulin Rouge soundtrack. Whatever. Anyway, it was a very early 20s thing to do at your wedding, basically. Okay, so we're done with the Muriel's wedding questions.
I think Ed won.
No, we got one more section.
Oh, sorry. Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is a lot of trivia questions, but we've never done trivia before, so I thought it would be fun.
All right.
Okay, so last questions. According to Insider.com, in 2018, and remember the year because, these things affect lists, Spotify made a list of the 50 most popular wedding first dance songs based on the songs being included on first dance playlists on Spotify. So the first question, and I'm going to tell you guys, I would have never gotten this right, okay? What song is number 1 on Spotify's collection of most listed first dance songs?
Is it that Ed Sheeran song?
What's the name?
Oh, is that a yes? God, oh, what is it called? Oh, something about, I'm trying to think of the words.
Well, I'm already impressed because I would have been nowhere with this question and you've already got the artist.
It's the song about I can see like the music video of like the interpretive dancing.
I mean, can you sing any of it? Like, I mean, not that I would know.
You know what? I feel bad taking this, but I
You're gonna
feel like
sing
if
it,
there's
yeah.
I feel
I
like
bet you
if
could.
there's an Ed Sheeran song that would
You
be
know
a
what it
first
is.
dance.
You know what it is.
It's Thinking Out Loud.
That's right. All right.
Okay,
So, but
all
I'm gonna
right.
give
That's the only Ed Sheeran. I mean, that's the only Ed Sheeran song that makes sense in that context.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Serena, is that the song you were looking for?
Well, someone sing. Can you sing a little bit of it?
Always putting me on the spot.
Yep, go.
Quick pause. Hold on.
He's got to get his instrument warmed up.
Yeah.
That's how it
No.
is.
I got to look it up. I've done it at karaoke, and I am not an Ed Sheeran guy, but I need to see the words for this. When your legs don't work like they used to before, and I can't sweep you off of your feet, will your mouth still remember the taste of my love? Will your eyes still smile from the cheek? That one.
Yay.
Yes. Yep, that's it.
Okay. So you would have guessed that if you knew the title.
Yeah, if I knew the title.
All right.
And I just couldn't think of like the words, but I knew that song.
Right. I'm quite a fair and merciful judge here, so I'm giving you both a half point on that.
Oh, thanks.
Which, let's see, Ed gets
teamwork.
See, we should be on a trivia team together.
Yeah.
Right.
Kill it.
Solid. Ed, does that put you at like 3.5?
It's 3.5 to 2.5.
Yeah.
To 2.5. All right. Very good. Okay. So we got 2 more questions to to work with here. So the second question, this is so easy in my opinion, so I'm going to be disappointed if nobody gets it. Name the vocalist on the second most popular first dance song, At Last.
Etta James.
Yeah.
There you go. He beat you this time. So
yeah, he beat me.
And I don't think you have a chance to win, Serena, but you have a chance to make one more point if you would like. So
yeah, go.
And the last question, what song, which is included on the Pulp Fiction soundtrack, comes in at the number 13 most popular first dance song?
Like, girl, you'll be a woman soon. It's not that song, is it?
Is that a guess? Is that a guess, Serena? Is that a guess or a joke?
God, I really hope that's not the answer.
I'm not sure. I guess it's a guess. You could say it's a guess.
Nope.
But
Okay, so my guess then is You Never Can Tell, Chuck Berry.
Nope. But good guess. Slightly more decent than Serena. No, it's okay. So I'm so in love with you.
Al Green. Oh yeah.
Whatever you want to do, it's all right.
That was on Pulp Fiction soundtrack?
Yeah, I
yes.
think of at what point that was in the movie, but
well, I own the soundtrack, and it's on the soundtrack. I don't remember when it is in the movie either. It might have been one of those scenes where like they're driving together or something, just on the radio or something. You know what I mean? But I own the soundtrack and played it way too many times. So yeah. Anyway.
All right. What number was that? 13?
Yeah, number 13.
Okay.
So Let's Stay Together, which is interesting because it like implies that people are breaking up. So it's kind of also an interesting choice, but whatever. As we finish this up though, what do you think would be a good first dance song at a wedding, in your opinion?
Well, I'm going to say Not At Last because that was my wedding song and I've been divorced for over 10 years.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you're saying done with that. No more of that.
It really has to depend on the couple. I mean,
that's true.
If I was like, I'm clearly not marrying anyone right now, but I mean, You're All I Need to Get By Method Man and Mary J. Blige works for some couples. That would be on my list.
Yeah.
Serena, any choices?
I've been watching a lot lately because I have a really good friend who's getting married, so we're talking a lot about weddings. And the version of I Can't Help Falling in Love in Crazy Rich Asians, I think is just so beautifully done. And I could really see that being a good, I think in the movie it was like when she walked down the aisle, but I could also see that being a really good first dance.
Yeah, I can see. That's great. Yeah. And I realized I didn't have a choice when I came into this, but what came into my mind just now is maybe Time After Time. I really like that song a lot. And I don't know, all the lyrics don't necessarily bode well, perhaps, but like I think the general spirit of I'll Be There For You is good. So
yeah.
Anyway, we did not have a first song at Lee and Mai's wedding because we got married by a waterfall. Then we went swimming in a very cold mountain pond where I almost fainted, and Lee had to prevent me from drowning right away. So that was fun.
Fainted from what? Cold?
The cold, yeah. It was so cold that it like hit me so hard that I almost like passed out, and he had to like pull me up. But it was actually kind of a great way to start a marriage. He literally was saving my life. So there you go. Anyway, I won't wax poetic more about my wedding right now. All right, let's get on to the show.
So before we get started with today's episode, some useful information. As always, we will have a spoiler-free section at the beginning of the episode, but it will be considerably shorter than usual. So please keep your ear out for the spoiler warning we'll give you when our spoiler section begins.
We would also like to remind you that you can follow the podcast on social media. Our Facebook page is Every Rom Com Podcast and Blog. Our Instagram is at Every Rom Com, and our Twitter handle is at Every Rom Com Pod.
And as always, you can find the podcast at everyromcom.com. Send us feedback at everyromcom.com. And if you like what you hear, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts so you never miss an episode.
And also be sure to check out Ed's podcast, The Greatest Song Ever Sung Poorly, at sungpoorly.com, where you can hear him and his co-host Adam interview some fascinating people and give you the lowdown on all things karaoke. And I will include a link to the podcast in the show notes so you can check that out.
And now let's listen to part of the trailer for My Best Friend's Wedding.
Michael and Julianne have been best friends for years.
The one constant thing in my life is that he'll always be there.
But they were never more than that.
Call me 4 a.m, whatever, we gotta talk.
Until he popped the question
I called because I met someone.
to someone else.
Well,
We're getting married.
he was in love with me every day for 9 years. Me?
I can see why.
Look, she has known him for what, like 5 seconds? I can't lose him, George. I'm a busy girl. I've got 4 days to break up a wedding and steal the bride's feather. Oh!
See the girl with the diamond ring? She knows how to.
You know, I've never had a sister. All I've heard is Julianne this and Julianne that.
Michael and I were a wrong fit right from the start.
He said that too.
George, she's toast.
The only fear she really has is you.
So this means that I have 4 days to make you my new best friend and be my maid of honor.
What?
Why not? You're practically the best man anyway.
I just asked myself, what would Lucy Ricardo do in this situation?
Who's that guy?
I told him, George, if we're engaged, why be ashamed of it, right? Is something wrong?
It's just a big surprise.
We thought you were a lesbian.
We have to talk about George.
You're jealous?
Crazy George.
Personally, I think Mr. Michael's marrying the wrong girl.
Just tell him you love him.
I realize this comes at a very inopportune time. Marry me.
The moment I wake up, before you put on your makeup.
TriStar Pictures presents
I'm the bad guy.
a story about finding the love of your life
Do you really love him?
and deciding
Or is this just about winning?
what to do about it.
I trusted you. Just tell me why.
Why did you trust me?
Well, why did you pretend to be my friend?
Julia Roberts, Dermot Mulroney, and Cameron Diaz.
Michael!
Lovely together.
My Best Friend's Wedding.
Michael!
That's our maid of honor. She's from New York.
My Best Friend's Wedding premiered June 20th, 1997, directed by P.J. Hogan, written by Ronald Bass, and starring Julia Roberts, Dermot Mulroney, Cameron Diaz, and Rupert Everett.
So the premise is Julianne hears from her old friend Michael around the time that they'd made a promise to marry each other if they were both single. Rather than calling to propose, Michael is calling to let Julianne know he's getting married in a few days to a younger woman named Kimmy. Julianne becomes convinced that she's in love with Michael and decides she must stop the wedding. Julianne travels to Chicago and things quickly get complicated as Kimmy asks her to be her maid of honor. Meanwhile, Julianne's other best friend, George, attempts to sway Julianne towards honesty and acceptance rather than deceptive tactics.
So there's a lot of interesting facts about the movie, but I think we're going to strew a lot of them throughout the episode today rather than putting them up front. But a few things to know. It was shot on location in Chicago in the summer of 1996. It had a budget of $46 million, and then it had a domestic gross of $126 million and a worldwide gross of $298 million. It was the sixth highest domestic gross of any movie in 1997. So for a rom-com, that's doing really well. Julia Roberts had a say in the casting, and she chose Dermot Mulroney as her leading man particularly. And I've read a couple conflicting sources about Cameron Diaz. So one said that Julia Roberts picked her over Drew Barrymore. Another one said that she wanted Drew Barrymore, but she traded Drew Barrymore away so she could have Dermot Mulroney. So who knows? But in any case, Dermot Mulroney was definitely Julia Roberts' pick. And there's a couple remakes of My Best Friend's Wedding, foreign remakes. There's a 2016 Chinese remake with the same title and the same plot. And there's also a 2019 Mexican remake with the same title and plot, La Boda de mi Mejor Amigo, which I now want to see both of these movies very much. And I probably won't have any time for a while, but they're on my radar. And a stage musical of the movie featuring the music of Burt Bacharach had been planned to open in the UK and Ireland in 2020 and then 2021, but it has been postponed again due to the pandemic. So I'm not a huge going to see musicals based on movies kind of person, so that doesn't really bother me, but it does suck that people put a lot of work into something that hasn't been able to be put up on a theatrical stage yet. So I hope it works out for them. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the cast and crew, and I'm going to give you a little information about PJ Hogan, who's the director of this movie. So PJ Hogan is an Australian director. His first feature was The Humpty Dumpty Man in 1989, and he also co-wrote that. But his breakout movie is pretty special to me. I saw it with my friend Karen Carlson in DC. We took our first cab to go see it in Georgetown. And it's called Muriel's Wedding, which we already talked about in the trivia segment. And this was in 1994. He wrote and directed it. And it has a lot in common with My Best Friend's Wedding. And it's also what brought him to the attention of the people who are producing this film, because it's got a lot of music in the movie. This was also the breakout movie for both Toni Collette and Rachel Griffiths. And if you've never seen Muriel's Wedding, I really recommend watching it. It's so fun. It's so bizarre. It's like watching PJ Hogan, instead of using his talents like he is in this movie to kind of make a mainstream movie a little more interesting. It's just when PJ Hogan's allowed to kind of go wild and make the movie he wants to make. So definitely check that out. My Best Friend's Wedding, though, in 1997 remains his most high-profile project. But he has directed some other well-known movies, including the 2003 version of Peter Pan and Confessions of a Shopaholic in 2009. And some other movies I want to see. He worked with Rupert Everett again on a movie called Unconditional Love in 2002, which that's on my list now to watch. And he worked with Toni Collette again on a movie called Mental in 2012, also on my list now. Final interesting facts about PJ Hogan. He's married to another Australian director, Jocelyn Moorhouse, and she's directed movies including Proof and How to Make an American Quilt. And his most recent IMDb credit is as a writer and producer on Jocelyn Moorhouse's 2015 film, The Dressmaker, which stars Kate Winslet. Then after that, most recently, Hogan created a musical version of Muriel's Wedding, which played in Australia from 2017 to 2019. And yeah, like I said, I want to watch so many movies now after researching this episode. I can't believe I never went back and just watched PJ Hogan's filmography, because based on the 2 movies of his I've seen, I love his work. So I got some watching ahead of me.
Yeah. We previously covered Ronald Bass on episode 10, How Stella Got Her Groove Back. So check out that episode if you want more info on the screenwriter.
For the star of the movie, Julia Roberts. Her first feature role was as a member of an all-girl band in the 1988 movie Satisfaction. Also in 88, she starred in Mystic Pizza, followed by a role in Steel Magnolias in 1989. 1990's Pretty Woman remains one of her biggest roles and one of the top grossing rom-coms of all time. Other roles before My Best Friend's Wedding included Sleeping with the Enemy, Hook, The Pelican Brief, and Something to Talk About. Some important movies since My Best Friend's Wedding include Notting Hill, Runaway Bride, Erin Brockovich, for which she won an Oscar, America's Sweethearts, Ocean's 11 and 12, Mona Lisa Smile, Closer, Charlie Wilson's War, Eat, Pray, Love, Larry Crown, and August, Osage County. Currently, she's in a TV series called Gaslit, taking place around the Watergate scandal. And coming up, she has a movie in post-production called Ticket to Paradise with George Clooney. She's filming a movie called Leave the World Behind with Ethan Hawke and Kevin Bacon. And she's in pre-production on a movie called Little B.
So on a previous episode on The Proposal, Sybil and I were talking about Sandra Bullock as kind of the queen of rom-coms, and Julia Roberts is definitely one of the rivals for that label. Where do you guys think she ranks as a rom-com star? Like, is she one of your favorites?
She's up there for me. I don't think of her as a rom-com star, but her role in this and in Notting Hill, which is one of my all-time favorites, really keep her up there for me in the list.
Yeah, I'm personally a big Pretty Woman fan. When it first came out when I was younger, I had all kinds of things to say about it, like not being feminist and all this stuff. And like, it's weird. Over the years, I've come to embrace Pretty Woman. I don't know what shifted in me. Maybe someday we'll cover it and I can talk about it more. But I think she's so fucking charming in that as well. How about you, Sarita? Like, do you have any feelings on Julia Roberts?
I mean, yeah, I think she's great. I don't think I necessarily would go out of my way to see a Julia Roberts movie just because she was in it, but she's definitely been in some really great movies. I love Closer. God, I love that movie.
Yeah.
And I think she does a great job in it. I do think she's kind of an underrated actress. I know she's in a lot of things, but I don't think people give her enough credit for her range. Mm-hmm. You know, I do think that she did a great job in Steel Magnolias too when she was quite young. I just love that movie and I love her character. I think I do prefer more of her serious movies as opposed to her rom-coms, but that's just me.
Like, would you put somebody else in the place of queen of rom-coms? We're not going to have a whole discussion about it right now, but like, who would you put over her if you were choosing a queen?
I kind of think that she was like more of like one of the OG like rom-com queens. So like, she's like the first person that really comes to mind when I think of rom-coms, and I don't know why. That's just me. Maybe it is because of this movie of My Best Friend's Wedding.
Yeah, for you, she is a bit of a queen then. Like, for me, yeah. I think I used to automatically think of Meg Ryan, but like Sybil really made me question this when we were talking about Sandra Bullock. So you'll have to listen to that segment we did and see what you think, whether you agree or not.
Meg Ryan would be my go-to.
And is it because of just the sort of like the 3 Nora Ephron movies, or like, is there any other reason?
It's definitely the Nora Ephron movies. When Harry Met Sally, absolutely. That's my go-to number 1 top of all time romantic comedy.
Yes. All right. Very good. Same as me. I don't actually meet a lot of people who say that anymore, so that's cool. So any final thoughts about Julia Roberts? Like, how about this? Do you think this is one of her better movies that she's done?
I think it's the one that really like solidified her celebrity status.
Yeah, I mean, it really did make a lot of money. I guess it was her highest grossing movie since Pretty Woman. So yeah, it probably signaled to Hollywood, like, yeah, keep banking on this woman. She's going to bring people into the theater. And also, like, the stuff she gets away with in this movie is amazing. Like, I don't know how many actresses you could put in that role and people would still be with them in any sense at the end.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. So the love interest in this movie is played by Dermot Mulroney. His first IMDb credit in a TV movie called Sin of Innocence in 1986. But his breakout role was in Young Guns in 1988, which is a great movie.
Wait. I'm stopping you. So you are a Young Guns fan? I need to know.
Yes, totally. I mean, I guess I haven't watched it in a really long time, but I loved it when I was like 12 years old.
That's awesome. Okay, sorry, I had to stop you.
Did you not?
I haven't never seen it. I'll confess, I've never seen Young Guns.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Projects before My Best Friend's Wedding include Longtime Companion, Career Opportunities, Where the Day Takes You, Point of No Return, Living in Oblivion, and Copycat. Projects after My Best Friend's Wedding include Goodbye Lover, The Safety of Objects, About Schmidt, The Wedding Date, The Family Stone, Stoker, and August, Osage County. In recent years, he's been making more TV appearances, including on the shows Enlightened, American Horror Story, Shameless, New Girl, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, and The Purge. He's also appeared in the movies The Cow, with Sandra Oh, Agent Game, and The Virgin of Highland Park. He has a lot coming up with 6 features in post-production, mostly action and horror movies, and he's in pre-production on a comedy called Two Men and a Pig.
And I just want to put in here that I really underrated Dermot Mulroney's filmography. Like, I never really thought of him as like much of a heavy hitter, but like he's been in a ton of indie films and I've seen a lot of them. And I think like I didn't think of him because he actually played the roles very well and blended in, like About Schmidt, for example. Like, I don't associate him with that movie, but he was great in it. So yeah, he's actually done a much better job than I realized. So yay, Dermot Mulroney. Nobody has any other thoughts on Dermot Mulroney. Okay, we can move on.
Not really.
None that I can share on this podcast. I literally forgot how hot he was. Like, he's a hot, like, distinguished older gentleman now, but I'm like watching this, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, Ed, if you find him hot in this movie, you really need to see The Wedding Date. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but yeah.
I have not.
Yeah, because I don't really find him hot in this movie, but then I watched The Wedding Date and I'm like, okay, I can see it now. So yeah, I'll talk about that later because it's in my double feature recommendations. Okay, so we're going to move on now to kind of, for me, the star of this movie, Rupert Everett, who plays George, Julianne's gay friend. And Rupert Everett is an openly gay British actor who started in theater and then he moved to British TV. And when I say openly gay, he came out in 1989 when that was like a big deal. So his breakout feature role was playing a gay lead role in the 1984 movie Another Country, which also starred Colin Firth. Other projects he did before My Best Friend's Wedding included Dance with a Stranger, The Comfort of Strangers, Della Morte dell'Amore, which is also known as Cemetery Man. And let me just tell you, it is a bonkers, like, weird Italian zombie movie. And I used to own it on VHS. I got rid of it because it's a bad movie, but now I kind of wish I'd saved it. But anyway, it's a really strange movie if you ever get a chance to see it. Ready to Wear is another work he was in before My Best Friend's Wedding, and The Madness of King George. And interestingly, okay, so we see Rupert Everett sings quite a bit in this movie. He actually at one point recorded a pop album in the 80s called Generations of Loneliness. And I listened to the title song and I mean, it was just kind of so-so, but I mean, it was a credible 80s pop song for sure. It did not do well, obviously, because he didn't become a pop star, but he also later sang backing vocals on Madonna's American Pie, and he sang backing vocals on a Robbie Williams cover of They Can't Take That Away From Me. So after My Best Friend's Wedding, like obviously he was well known for doing this role. He worked in Shakespeare in Love, An Ideal Husband, A Midsummer Night's Dream, where I believe he played Oberon, The Importance of Being Earnest, and Stage Beauty. He also was the voice of Prince Charming in the Shrek sequels. He appeared in the movies Hysteria and Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, and he's continued to work in TV and theater. And one like really important project people should know about, in 2018, he released The Happy Prince, which is a biopic of Oscar Wilde's later years. And he produced, wrote, directed, and starred in it as Oscar Wilde. And I've seen it, and it's a very moving picture, but it is pretty depressing at times. Have you guys seen that one?
Have not.
I haven't seen it, but I could see how would be pretty depressing.
Yeah, I really recommend it. It's a really masterful film if you're in the mood for something that won't necessarily uplift you, but will give you a little bit of insight into Oscar Wilde. And more recently, he's appeared in The Warrior Queen of Jauncey and the TV series The Name of the Rose and Adult Material. He has several projects in post-production, including The Liar and Leadheads, and he's also in pre-production on a movie called Lost and Found in Paris, which he is writing, directing, and acting in. So, as I mentioned before, he came out as gay in 1989, and in 2019, he told the Daily Mail that being openly gay had hurt his career. He said, "Certainly back in the day, it was more or less impossible to be gay if you wanted to aim for the top rank of show business. I did get a certain amount of opportunities. I just never got second ones." So he was asked also about, the opinion. Some people will say that, well, only gay actors should play gay roles because there's this like dearth of gay roles and we want to give opportunities to gay actors. And Everett said that he thought it was fine, for straight actors to play gay roles. But what he wanted was the opportunity for gay actors to play straight roles. Then just finishing up with Rupert Everett, he's also, in addition to acting and his attempt at a music career, he has written 5 books. 2 of them were novels and 3 of them were memoirs. Apparently in his memoirs, he is quite outspoken. One of them caused a rift between him and Madonna. He had been in a film with Madonna, and he said some things about her she didn't like. And he's kind of known for being outspoken and causing a little bit of trouble in general. So very ironically, considering the movie we're talking about today, he gave a critique of gay marriage in an interview with The Guardian in 2012. I wish I could say this in Rupert Everett's voice because it would probably sound better, but he says, "I loathe heterosexual weddings. I would never go to a wedding in my life. I loathe the flowers. I loathe the fucking wedding dress, the little bridal tiara. It's grotesque. It's just hideous. The wedding cake, the party, the champagne, the inevitable divorce 2 years later. It's just a waste of time in the heterosexual world. And in the homosexual world, I find it personally beyond tragic that we want to ape this institution that is so clearly a disaster." So Rupert Everett will put out what he thinks about things right out there, which doesn't always endear him to people, but I find it very interesting to watch if you've ever watched an interview with him. And I kind of want to read his memoirs now.
Yeah. I wonder what are his novels about?
I don't know. Yeah, I want to read all his books now. This, like I said, this episode is making me want to explore all of these people's careers so much more.
Yeah.
So the movie also stars Cameron Diaz, but we are not covering her on this episode. I'm sorry. She's really great in this movie, but for the sake of time, we will cover her later this year. Serena, maybe we will cover The Holiday. I know you and Sybil really like that. Cameron Diaz, at the time of this movie, though, I will note, she hadn't really broken out yet. She'd been in The Mask, but this was before There's Something About Mary. So guys, we're going to do a really, we're going to do our general opinion now, but we're going to kind of do it in 2 parts, I think. This is the no spoiler version of your opinion of the movie. And then we're going to do the spoiler section pretty soon after this. So in a no spoiler way, what's your relationship to this movie? When did you see it? How many times have you watched it? Do you like it? Just put it all out there.
Watching it for this podcast was my second time watching it. I did watch it when it first came out. I did not like it then.
Ooh.
I liked it more watching it now.
My memories of it are, it came out when I was in high school, and I remember that the girls that I despised in high school loved this movie. So even though I secretly enjoyed it, there was a part of me that was no, this movie is not for me, because I felt like I was beyond it. But I do like it. I do enjoy it. Even as rom-coms go, I like that it's a little different.
Yeah, I definitely saw this when it came out because I was working in movie theaters, and it was, it opened at the same weekend as Batman and Robin, but it was kind of that movie's terrible, but it was kind of an alternative to Batman and Robin, just it was kind of the sleeper hit of the summer. So we had it around the movie theater for a long time. And I remember just really liking it right off. I don't think I was aware that PJ Hogan was connected to it at the time, but I really responded to the music of it. I loved that in Muriel's Wedding, and I loved it in My Best Friend's Wedding. I love movies that employ music in some way, not necessarily a musical, but bringing in singing to a movie. And I don't think any of the main stars were really my favorites, but Rupert Everett, I just responded to him in the movie quite a bit. And at that time, we talked about with Chasing Amy, it was still not necessarily common to have gay characters in mainstream movies. So that was refreshing to me. And to have him be such a cool person was even more exciting to me. So I like that a lot. Yeah, I didn't have any problem with being schmaltzy, and I was out of high school, thank God. So I didn't have to worry about the type of girls I imagine you're talking about.
Yeah.
One question for you, Serena. Have you seen it since then, since it came out?
Had I seen it? Yes, I have. I don't think I ever really went out of my way to watch it, but I've seen it since it came out, and maybe just randomly on TV, or just kind of in the background or something. Yeah.
Yeah, me, I've seen it a bunch of times since it came out in 1997, but I think that's primarily because I'm a huge rewatcher, and especially of rom-coms, they're kind of my comfort food. So, yeah. All right, so we're going to begin our spoiler section very early in this episode just because of the nature of this movie. So if you want to watch this movie unspoiled, please check back in with us and check the movie out. All right, so a big part of my opinion of this movie is based on the fact that this movie subverts romantic comedy tropes and romantic comedy expectations. So you're set up right away to assume that the main character, Julianne, is going to succeed in her mission to like break up her best friend's wedding. Julia Roberts is so charismatic. She's so beautiful. And you just kind of assume that she's going to win when she's the protagonist in the movie. And you also just assume a rom-com protagonist is going to get what they want, even if it seems a little bit ridiculous or improbable. Would you guys agree with that?
No, I agree. I completely agree with like everything you said. I think that was the purpose of it, really, is to kind of turn like the rom-com onto its head.
Yeah, and there's more, like, they do, like, so much with this, too, because you're set up with all the different things that usually happen in a rom-com. Like, the moment Julianne and Michael see each other again, they bump into each other at the airport. Like, they literally bump into each other and almost kiss. That's the kind of thing you see in all kinds of rom-coms. There's a scene where he sees her, like, in her underwear and says she's beautiful. He confesses that he's having doubts about the wedding to her on a boat, like, in kind of a romantic scenario. They dance on the same boat to like their song that he's singing to her. So it's like all this stuff that in a usual rom-com, you'd just be sitting there and being like, get together, kiss. Yes, you belong together. And in this movie, it's kind of seeded with this dark side, but I think it's possible that people could have still been watching it and wanting these two characters together. What do you guys think?
I do think that Julia Roberts and Dermot Mulroney have so much chemistry that it's almost like it makes sense for them to get together, like they just seem so good together and so comfortable and so natural, and they're both so good looking, like all of the things. But I think the great part about this movie is that that's not the point of the movie necessarily, that attraction or chemistry, it doesn't always win out in the end,
Yes, exactly. Like everything seems like it's pointing to them ending up together or that they would be good together in some way. But it's kind of acting like a reality check, I think, to the idea that if you feel something must be right, that it's going to work out, or that you can make a grand gesture and things are going to be okay. Like so many romantic comedies are kind of selling this idea that like, go with what's in your heart and you will win. And like, I mean, from my own experience, I know that that's not true. Like sometimes you'll meet like the right person and you'll have like true love and like everything will work out despite the odds. But a whole lot of times that's not true. And it can lead to really toxic behavior, people pursuing people longer than they should be, people making other people relatively uncomfortable. So yeah, I think this movie is in some ways almost like a corrective to kind of the excesses of the rom-com genre.
Yeah, the kind of like the unnecessary, prolonged like pursuit of someone sometimes isn't always like realistic, or it can. Sometimes I do watch rom-coms and I do feel uncomfortable with like some of the scheming and plotting and things that are going on behind the scenes, and you're kind of like feel icky about it, and I think that this movie kind of shows that as well. Just how like gross some of that can be.
Yeah, and it's sort of an exaggerated version. I'm trying to think if there's another romantic comedy where things worked out well, where somebody was as underhanded as Julia Roberts' character is in this movie.
I think it's more normalized when it's the male that is the pursuer, because I think we kind of excuse it away as being like male behavior, to kind of have that rivalry between men.
Yeah, or to like do deceptive things. Like
yeah.
I feel like I was on Force 5 podcast recently, and I haven't seen There's Something About Marianne Forever, but it was one of like his picks. And he said that there is devious behavior in that, but I can't remember exactly.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. There definitely is. I mean, it's done in a very comedic way, but yeah,
Okay.
it is definitely, yeah, that's a good example of what I was saying about how, yeah, it seems more normalized when men will go in these directions.
Okay, so do you think it could have been a satisfying movie if Julianne had somehow gotten Michael in the end of this movie?
I don't really think so. I think that had they gotten together at the end of this movie, it would have been a letdown and it wouldn't have been as good of a movie as it is.
Yeah, I think we would have forgotten the movie. I think it might have, had a little success. We would have seen it. We would have forgotten it.
I think the standout of this is that it isn't the normal plot of a rom-com.
So let's go ahead and we'll talk about this opening sequence. So we have a lot of instances of music in this movie, including the opening credits sequence, which is to the song Wishing and Hoping, which is kind of a little bit of a retro, 1964 song written by Burt Bacharach and Hal David and first sung by Dusty Springfield. And it's kind of like, wishing and hoping and thinking and praying, planning and dreaming each night of his charms that won't get you into his arms. And then it's basically saying that just, thinking about love isn't going to work for you. The later lyrics are things like you should wear your hair just for him, do the things that he likes to do. Say you care just for him. Like, this is the advice this song is giving you. Like, in 1964, I don't think that was intended ironically, but I could be wrong. I don't know if either of you knows anything about the history of the song and whether this was like a straight up
Well, the irony is that Dusty Springfield was gay.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Maybe it was ironic.
Yeah. Well, it ended up being ironic.
Yeah, from mid-1966 to the early 1970s, Springfield lived in a domestic partnership with fellow singer Norma Tanega.
Wow, I did not know. So yeah, this song, I mean, it could have been just the song that her producer suggested to her and was as a straight up love song, but perhaps she was singing it ironically, if nothing else. And then of course the singer in this version, it's a cover version, is Ani DeFranco, which
I did not know.
Oh no?
No, I didn't know.
Well, anyone who knows anything about Ani DeFranco knows that this is definitely ironic once you make Ani DeFranco the singer of the song, because she's known for her feminism. She was asked why she chose to appear on the soundtrack, and DeFranco told the LA Times, "I guess the irony appealed to my sick sense of humor. It's important for all of us to be able to poke fun at ourselves." So she was also initially asked to play the bride in the opening sequence, but the timing didn't work out for that. So instead we've got this very blonde bobbed haircut girl and her bridesmaids, and they're all wearing kind of 1960s clothes on a pink background. That would have been a very different opening sequence if Ani DeFranco had been in it, I think.
Yes.
I mean, were they putting her in a blonde wig, or was she just going to show up as Ani DeFranco? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, instead the bride in that sequence ends up looking quite a bit like Kimmy, in my opinion, the girl that Michael's marrying. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of the point of it. You're supposed to the opening sequence, you're supposed to almost get this icky feeling, ugh, gross.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if PJ Hogan just really likes that song and so he was having fun and just being a little campy with it or something, or if you are sort of supposed to if it's supposed to be some kind of dark commentary on the Michael and Kimmy's wedding. I'm kind of torn between those. Maybe it's both. I'm torn between those ideas. All right, so we're going to move on. We're going to move into the movie now that we're done with the opening sequence. We are introduced to Julianne in what seems like a totally unnecessary segment to me. It starts out, you think it's going to be one of those kitchen cooking movies, because you start in a kitchen and people are all worried they have to make the best food for this important person. And we find out the important person is Julianne, who is a food critic. And apparently has recently written a book, and she was on a book tour. And apparently also doesn't answer her calls on her enormously gigantic cell phone. And over dinner with her friend George, we find out about her best friend Michael. She describes them as having had one hot month in college, after which she broke up with him. But then at one point, they promised to marry each other if they weren't married by 28. And can we just pause for a minute and talk about the idea that if you're not married by 28, you should make a pact with someone to get married?
Yeah, I do remember watching it at the time being dang, that seems young.
Yeah, I mean, I was married once before 28, but I wouldn't necessarily advise it because it didn't work out. So
yeah.
I mean, you hear about these pacts all the time, and where it kind of killed my suspension of disbelief and I did not bother to look up anything is I just had trouble reading both Dermot Mulroney and Julia Roberts as being 28 in this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Julia Roberts is 30, so she's at least close. I don't know how old Dermot Mulroney is.
But I get it. Yeah, because they're just so successful. Wow. I don't know. And maybe that's just me because there's no way that I was could have been capable of writing a book before 28. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It just seems like I don't know.
Yeah, she's definitely successful. She's like this like feared critic, which usually a feared critic I would think of somebody older. Dermot Mulroney, I think his career position is a little bit more believable because he even says he has a low paying, zero respect job at one point. So his amount of success I buy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Julianne's success is a little more makes her seem a bit older. Yeah, is that what you were getting at, Ed? Was it the career or just the way they look, basically?
A mix of both. A mix of both. And Dermot, I looked it up. He is a little bit older than her.
Okay.
But maybe it's because, like, in my head, people that are in their mid to late 20s are kids now, and they didn't look like kids. So I don't know.
So we also meet George, who is her editor and her best friend in her current life, played by Rupert Everett. They're at dinner together. They're at this dinner together, and she's telling him about Michael. So George has heard about her marriage pact with Michael, and noticing that Michael has just called her and that she's about to turn 28, he puts the idea in her head that maybe Michael is calling to fulfill that pact. So she goes back home, she calls up Michael, and it seems like she's all set to reject him proposing to her. Is that the impression you guys got?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like preparing her words to be like, oh, sorry, but we're not really going to get married with this wedding pact. Sorry that you want me so much, kind of thing. And instead, though, we find out that Michael has in fact met someone. And as soon as he says he's met someone, she gets all jealous, I noticed. After that, Michael then says that the girl he's met is all wrong for me. We find out she's a junior at the University of Chicago, which, by the way, is a really hard college to get into. So Kimmy has to be pretty smart. She's 20 years old and her family is rich, and Michael doesn't really like hanging around rich people. And when Julianne finds out that he's getting married, she falls off the bed in that kind of rom-com, clumsy, pratfall kind of way. And she's shocked. And immediately she is very upset. So right away, I feel this scene speaks to Julianne's sort of motives. Would you agree?
Yeah. We're already seeing that she's kind of a bitch.
Oh, so you think of her? So you think she's a bitch already?
Yeah,
okay,
it's kind of showing that. Yeah, I mean, it's just showing that at first she wanted to reject him, and then when she finds out that he has found someone, she's upset.
Yeah, I mean, but being upset doesn't necessarily make you a bitch. But I feel like that's kind of natural. I just think it makes me question whether she feels genuine love for him. I guess you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Do either of you find this relatable? Like this kind of relationship with someone where you like their flattery and attraction, but you would reject them. But then if they're with someone else and they don't care about you anymore, you're like, oh, but come on, I used to have that. Do you guys find that relatable at all? Have you ever experienced that?
I've certainly witnessed it. I've never felt it myself. I've never been in the Julianne role in that, but I've seen that in dynamics.
Yeah, I do remember being in college, and I think a couple of boyfriends or sort of casual things I had in college where I dated them. I ended up finding out that we weren't really compatible, but then I would get jealous when they would move on to someone else. And so I do find Julianne's jealousy relatable. I just don't find it relatable to do what she does about that feeling. You know what I mean? So Julianne decides she's going to go to Chicago. I mean, Michael has asked her to go to Chicago to participate in the wedding, but Julianne is going with a different motive, which is to break up the wedding and steal the bride's fella, as she tells George. And right here is one of those places where it's set up like a rom-com. You see her in a crowded airport hallway, the crowd sort of part, and there's Michael. And they see each other and there are these big smiles. There's this kind of rom-com-y kind of romantic song playing. Although I think it's called You Don't Know Me, I think is the name of the song.
It is, and it's Jan Arden covering it, speaking of women singers from the 90s.
Oh, I don't know that singer. Any more you want to say about that? Or
the song's most well known by, I believe, Ray Charles's version of it. But Jan Arden, you would probably remember from Insensitive, I think was her big hit.
That sounds vaguely familiar. Yeah, it's an interesting choice of a song because it sounds romantic, but I don't think the lyrics all support romance, if I recall.
It's very on the nose for this movie in terms of the lyrics. The whole point of it is, I'm happy to see you, and I'm sad as I watch you walk away with someone else.
Oh, yeah, that works on a very nice subconscious level. Yeah, and then so when Michael and Julianne bump into each other, literally, they have that almost kiss kind of a thing happen. But then immediately energy is dissipated when Kimmy is introduced. And so Kimmy's played by Cameron Diaz, as we said. Throughout the whole movie, I don't think I ever see her not in a dress. She's in a dress like the whole movie. And the dress she's wearing here is like yellow kind of shift dress. It looks very 1960s, like continuing with the wishing and hoping opening credits. It looks very 1960s. Her hair is like in a little headband, perfectly done. She's got a string of pearls, like just your like sort of perfect classic conservatively dressed girl. And she has even has like a little scarf tied around her neck. It's just like, it's all very retro. And I'm sure that's purposeful because Julianne's appearing like either in like kind of suit jackets or she's wearing like crop tops. I think the costume design was really good on this film.
Mm-hmm.
And other things we find out about Kimmy very quickly is she's very friendly, like very effusive. She says to Julianne, "I've never had a sister," which, granted, as effusive as I am, that would bother me. If a girl I never met said I never had a sister to me, it would just be like, whoa, too much.
I mean, yeah, I would think that. But I think right away it shows the different women, like how different they are. And yeah, this scene of them meeting is pretty obvious.
And like, I was kind of predisposed to dislike Kimmy, I think, like, right, because like the way she's dressed, that sort of coding is kind of conservative, like especially in the 90s. It just struck me as like, oh, I wouldn't want to hang out with her. And then it really was exacerbated by her fast driving, because there's a couple scenes in the movie, like the next scene, they're driving away from the airport. There's another scene where she's driving crazily, where she's just driving way too fast. At one point, she almost runs some people over. It's almost like exaggeratedly unnecessarily, but yeah, like it really, that's a pet peeve for me. Like Lee called it a moral failing when we were watching it, so she's not totally perfect. She has this one flaw
that she's a fast driver.
Okay, but recall my mother, though. Like, my mom died like when I was like 20 and caused partly by a speeding driver, so it's kind of like I've never been a Fast and the Furious fan. You know, like I've never like gotten into any of that stuff because it's like, yeah, I mean, it can cause death. So I'm just like,
So what do you think they were trying to say with giving that, like, her being a fast driver as part of her character?
I don't know. Do you guys have any idea?
I think it just highlights the difference between Julia Roberts' character and hers. You know, New York being not really a driving city. Her, you know, being a driver, being young, being carefree, and being somewhat reckless. And I think we're actually seeing that more through Jules's eyes than we are maybe seeing what's accurate.
So you feel like maybe almost in a weird way we're seeing Jules's perception of her driving rather than we're supposed to see that she's actually driving like
Absolutely. That. Think about how many reaction shots to her driving that you see on Julia Roberts' face.
Interesting. The New York thing is important too. And also, I guess you could see it as a metaphor for how they move in relationships too. Like the recklessness, the fast, you know, Kimmy is a fast mover. This wedding has come up very quickly. So thank you, Ed. You've illuminated the situation. Yeah. All I was doing was sitting there and be like, you can't drive that fast. I would just get out of your car immediately and run away. Anyway, so Kimmy at this point also asks, while she's driving very quickly, asks Julianne to be her bridesmaid, in fact, her maid of honor. And yeah, like, what is your impression of the main characters when you're first introduced to them? Like, do you immediately have an affinity for any of them?
I think at the time I was probably more against, like when it first came out, like against characters like Kimmy, because yeah, you know, the conservative, preppy, like perfect girl. I always kind of railed against that. But over the years, I've actually become very good friends with women that would fall more into that category. And they're actually like wonderful, genuine people. And I realized that like I'm the asshole, that I had like prejudged them just because of, you know, their more conservative views or their more conservative, I guess, in comparison to me, life, or their, you know, what I perceive as being an easier life, you know, like they had grown up with more money or had more privilege, X, Y, and Z, instead of just like looking at them as a person. So I think I've grown as a person where I don't judge right away in real life scenarios. Yeah. So.
Oh, yeah.
At this point in the movie, the only characters I really liked were Michael and George.
Okay. So neither of the women, you're just like, nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like more about Kimmy and Julianne, like in terms of like what types of women there are, we find more about them at a dress fitting. And Kimmy's describing Julianne to herself via what she heard from Michael. She says, "You hate weddings, you never go. You're not up for anything conventional or anything that's assumed to be a female priority, including marriage or romance or even," and Julianne completes the thought, "love." And then Kimmy describes herself. "Well, I thought I was like you and proud to be, till I met rumpled, smelly old Michael. Then I found out I was just a sentimental schmuck like all those flighty nitwits I'd always pitied." So it's kind of like Julianne is set up to be this woman who is pushing away love, is against it, and Kimmy's set up to be like, I thought I was like that, but now I've seen the light. Which, given her wardrobe in this movie, okay, the last time I watched it just now, I felt like Kimmy was a Stepford wife. I hate to say. Like, if you've watched the Stepford Wives, like, the women who have been turned into a Stepford wife look very much like Kimmy. And they did, in fact, used to be more independent and have their own life until, like, they were changed over. So I know that sounds terrible, but, like, I almost wonder if they're playing with that a little bit, because I cannot imagine the Kimmy we see in this movie as an architecture major at the University of Chicago. Like, is she wearing those little dresses to class?
Yeah, why not?
Like,
yeah, I could see that. I mean, I never discredited like that part of it with Kimmy.
I mean, I'm not discrediting that, like, you know, Kimmy could be smart, okay? But just like the way she's being portrayed and dressed in the movie, and the way she, like, and the other important thing we learned about Kimmy is that she is in fact dropping out of her senior year of college to follow Michael around on his like sports writing job. It's like one more year of college you could go to and finish your degree, and you're not doing it. So for me, that seemed really weird, and it makes me sad when I watch the movie. It makes it hard for me to buy into Kimmy and Michael's relationship, that like you would take the dreams of a 20-year-old, the career of a 20-year-old, and like throw that aside. If I were Michael, I wouldn't let Kimmy do that, is what I'm saying. I would not be okay with that. I'd be like, let's wait to get married for a year. Let's be long distance. Like, let's have your dreams. So the character of Kimmy is really uncomfortable for me. Like, I believe in love and I believe in doing stuff to be with the person you love, but like, I draw the line at kind of like sacrificing something else that is core to you. Do you see what I'm saying?
I can very much see that. Now, that said, the scene is also where I start to like Kimmy, though, because this is the point where she stops being a stock character. Whereas for the majority of this movie, I feel Jules is a stock character. It takes Jules a lot longer to get depth and growth than it does for Kimmy. We start to see that Kimmy is more than just that bubbly person that we met in the airport during this scene.
I agree. In a lot of this, Kimmy comes across as being a lot more genuine.
Yeah, I definitely see that she's genuine. I definitely see that. But like, I feel like Kimmy's my shadow in some ways. I think that's maybe why I had another resistance to her, because at 20, at 19, there were a lot of things that I would change about myself, or to be with a guy. I would really, try to adapt myself to the guy's lifestyle. I missed out on fantastic trips I could have taken with my college, to go to Cuba, to go to India, because I wanted to spend time with my boyfriend, in Wisconsin. Like, I did things because I loved love, but I wasn't thinking about like my life and my priorities as much. So I feel like in a way, Kimmy is representing to me parts of myself that are not necessarily optimal for being a fully realized human. It's always a tricky balance with love, but like, I'm uncomfortable with Kimmy's trajectory here. Like, as a 20-year-old leaving college right before you're going to graduate. But you feel her, like, do you feel like she's genuine, but do you feel like this is a good choice for her?
Oh no, it's a terrible choice. It's a terrible choice.
So one final thing about Kimmy, though, that I relate to is that we find out from Michael that Julianne and Kimmy are very different in terms of affection. So he's talking to Julianne about the difference between the two women, and he says, Kimmy lets me hold her as long as I want. Like, she's okay with public displays of affection. In fact, she's very enthusiastic about them. And Julianne apparently would pull away when he tried to hug her in public. And so I really relate to Kimmy's character on that level. Like, I'm definitely more of a Kimmy that way. but I still like I still just feel sad for her like at different points in this movie. And I think when I was younger, that sadness for her was kind of more directed as like disdain for her, because like that was a part of me that I didn't want to acknowledge, a part of me that I would give things up for guys that I shouldn't. So I think we sometimes have a tendency to do that, to see other people's weaknesses that are the same as ours and kind of dislike them for it. But I think I see that about myself more clearly now.
This is the point where I got sad for Jules, because in her sudden jealousy, she's willing to change who she is for this guy. She's like, I can do that now.
Can she though?
Like,
and would she?
She would just be setting herself up for disaster.
Yeah, I feel like Jules wants to think that she can change for Michael, but like I don't see any evidence much evidence that she is capable of being a totally different person. And like, God, when I think about like, what is her plan for if they got married? Like, she's a food critic in New York and she's going to be married to a sports writer who travels around the entire country. How's that going to work exactly? Like Jules wants to change, but like, she's not following Michael around the country. I mean, do you think she would ever even try?
Probably not.
I guess it depends if she switches to a national publication.
Yeah. I suppose so. Although then they'd probably be sent to totally different places too, though. I mean, yeah. It seems like these are lives that would not fit together particularly naturally. And I just don't see that she'd be capable of changing the way Kimmy does. Do you think that her willingness to change is an example that maybe she is actually kind of in love with Michael, like beyond just being jealous?
I think there is a part of her that is in love with Michael. I do. I think those feelings are legitimate. Like, I don't think she's lying when she says how much she loves him. I just think that she didn't realize that he could be taken away from her.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, I think the latter for me, like, I think those are slightly different things, because like, I think when anybody's like best friend or someone close to them gets married or gets a partner and you're used to spending time with that person, like, and being a priority to them, and now they've got this other person that's a priority, there can be like jealousy there. And maybe you don't really want to be in that situation with that person, but you don't want your situation to end. I feel like it's more of that than it is of like, I actually want to be married to Michael. Okay, so let's move on to George. Like, is George your guys' favorite character too, or is it just me?
No, he's the best, only good character in the movie. He is the moral compass, which is actually great if you think about it for the 90s, the gay best friend being the moral compass.
Yeah.
And he's just so damn charming.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and he's incredibly handsome, charismatic, witty. Like, I love they have these repeated scenes where Julianne's like desperate and going nuts, and like she calls George on the phone, and like he's always doing something like amazing, like having this like really elegant dinner party with like these intellectual looking people, or at like a book reading where everybody's looking very sophisticated, and there's Julianne on the other side like a total mess. I love the contrast. I wish they'd done even another scene of that. And yeah, he's the moral compass. Like, he gives her advice. Like, he gives her advice that if she had followed, I think there's some chance Julianne might have succeeded in breaking up the wedding if she had just immediately, or maybe not immediately, but maybe on that boat, just cop to what she's feeling. I think there's maybe a chance she could have broken up the wedding.
I think there's a chance, but it would still be really scummy.
Oh, so you still think it would be scummy? Like,
yeah.
All right. Like,
now, I will say this now, because we are in the spoiler section, but I have no faith in Michael and Kimmy's marriage lasting.
Yeah.
At the same time, no faith whatsoever. But at the same time, she had her chance and she blew it.
Okay.
And she should accept that.
On one hand, yeah, I can agree with that. On the other hand, like, she had her chance, like, in terms of like years ago, but like, I do think it's possible that like, if you find out somebody's attached to someone else, you could have a sudden realization about how you really feel. And there isn't really much lead up to this wedding. There isn't really much time for her to tell him, because she hasn't, she just missed his messages or whatever. I feel like if she were really truly in love with him, and she sensed that he was really truly in love with her, and obviously, like you said, Kimmy and Michael aren't necessarily a great fit, then I don't think it's scummy to tell how you feel. Actually, I don't think it's ever scummy to tell how you feel, as long as you do it the way George suggested. Like, I know this is a terrible time, but I just have to tell you how I feel, and then I'll accept the results of what happens then.
That I agree with.
Okay.
But I don't think there's any way that she would do it in that sense.
Okay, yeah. I'm just saying, like, if she had done it George's way, Like, would it be okay? Like, and I feel like if she'd done it George's way, it would be morally okay to do that. And it might have been successful for her. I don't know if she would have wanted the car after she caught it, but you know what I mean? But yeah, she probably would have ended up breaking Michael's heart if she had gotten what she wanted. So yeah, George, played by Rupert Everett, I feel like he kind of steals this movie. And if I get really ambitious, I'm going to put out a blog entry declaring him my first addition to the rom-com character Hall of Fame, because honestly, I cannot think of another supporting character in a romantic comedy that has as much impact as him, that steals a movie as thoroughly, and just is really kind of an awesome guy, like that you'd want to know. Okay, so yeah, but like I wanted to talk though too then about the theme of gay best friends in rom-coms, because it's kind of like a interesting topic. Like there are positives to it, I definitely think, and then there are negatives to this kind of gay best friend trope. Like when you think of the gay best friend trope, do you guys generally have like first a positive reaction or a negative reaction?
Positive, I guess.
Cautiously positive. I think one of the reasons they set that up is because while both the gay best friend and the female lead find men attractive, they are very rarely going after the same person so that there's no competition, which takes that element out of the friendship.
Yeah. It can also just be a substitute too for like there's often in rom-coms there's just a female best friend, but like for whatever reason she's not a threat to the main love story. Like either she's interested in a different type of men or she's taken, like, or in some cases they make her sort of like quote unquote unattractive, which in movies of course just means normal looking. Like yeah, so I feel like the gay best friend is kind of like the modern sort of twist on the main character's best friend character. I don't know. I see
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I get it being like the unthreatening sort of, because there's also like the other best friend is like either they're unattractive or they're like the sassy black girlfriend character as well. I see a lot in movies. So I think it's like they're trying to make it more diverse, because usually, like, let's face it, like most rom-coms are straight, white, skinny women that are beautiful. You know what I mean? So you don't really go outside of that too much. But I think in order to make it a little bit more diverse is that they'll throw in like a gay friend, or they'll throw in like a black friend or some other ethnicity or something like that. So I think that's kind of how this started.
Yeah, and you're kind of getting at what the criticism of this role is then too. Like the criticism is that this character does end up being kind of like a token. They end up being like a person, you know, kind of without a life of their own. Yeah, I was reading an article on a site called 34st.com, which is supposed to be like 34thstreet.com. And it was critiquing the trope. It said, time and again, GBFs, which is short for gay best friends, are assigned roles in which they dole out advice and witty comments to a typically straight female protagonist and then fade into the background until the next time their support or help is called for. They hardly ever discuss their own personal lives. The romantic interests and sexual exploits of a gay character could distract from the main romance or perhaps even upset the audience. Their role is shallow, a prop for the protagonist to use at will. So, yeah, pretty harsh criticism. And in a lot of ways, you can see that. I think you can see some of this reflected in the way George is used in the movie. Now, my question though is like, is this because George is a gay character, or is this just because this is kind of always the way it's been for the best friend character in a rom-com, whether they're Judy Greer, you know, another straight white woman, whether they're the sassy black friend trope, or whether they're the gay best friend? Like, to what extent is it a function of the narrative, and to what extent is this tokenizing people?
Well, I guess part of it makes me wonder, so how common is it in real life do most heterosexual straight women have a gay best friend?
I mean, I would say many do, but like, I just like,
okay.
Yeah. So you're saying that the realism of it, you know, makes it.
I mean, is that where it came from? Is this like a real scenario? Is that what a lot of times, like, what straight women will use a gay best friend as sort of this,
okay,
you know, for dialogue and for, bouncing ideas off of as kind of an agony aunt.
So you're saying, like, is this reflecting a reality in the lives of straight women and gay best friends where they're kind of tokenizing their own friend, basically?
Right.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess it could go both ways as well. It's just we don't see that in movies. I mean, I have some gay best friends, and like I end up being their agony aunt a lot of times. So it's like it could go both ways. It's just like I've just never seen a movie where that was depicted.
Yeah, where there's the token straight, basically. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So a little bit, I'm going to also give a little bit about the history then, the background of the gay best friend. So I didn't even know about this movie, but there's an early example. There's a character called Buddy, played by Charles Grodin in the 1984 movie The Woman in Red. And I think in this one, he is the best friend actually to the guy in the movie. And Entertainment Weekly called it a normalizing depiction of a gay man who is simply one of the guys. So I think that one was generally viewed as a positive, especially in 1984. You were still not seeing a lot of gay characters in mainstream films. And then some other gay best friends that have been in rom-coms include, but are definitely not limited to, Oliver in Crazy Rich Asians, Damien in Mean Girls, Hollywood in Mannequin, Christian in Clueless, Brandon in Easy A, and Stanford and later Anthony on Sex and the City.
It's interesting how you don't really see. I was trying to think of movies that had like a lesbian best friend, like maybe to the guy. And you don't really like see that. I was really trying to like rack my brain.
I know I have seen one, but I don't know what it is. And I think I've even seen one where there's a lesbian best friend to the girl too, but I can't think about it. Yeah, it's interesting. The gay best friend is a trope. The lesbian best friend, not so much. Is that
if anything, they always like allude that the lesbian best friend is like in love with their straight friend. And that's usually some sort of like subplot,
And is this because of the stereotypes that people will often have about gay men, like that they're interested in fashion or something, which goes along so well with a rom-com, like Oliver in Crazy Rich Asians does the makeover, is that perhaps because of these stereotypes? I don't know. Anyway, an interesting movie that comments on this trope is called GBF from 2013. I actually ended up watching it before this podcast, and I think I'd seen it before actually, and it's kind of a fun little movie. It's basically focuses on these two gay friends and their other friend group, and all of a sudden when one of them comes out, he becomes like kind of this sought after accessory to the popular girls at school, and they're all kind of like fighting over him because they really want a gay best friend because it's like the new trend or something like that. And it's just very satirical. Natasha Lyonne shows up in it at one point, so there's some like a little bit of star power there. I kind of recommend it. It really just kind of like decimates the trope and even alludes also to the sassy black friend trope at one point as well. So I thought that was pretty fun, kind of interesting movie. Not a rom-com, just a comedy. Just like some final thoughts about this. Like, I think that overall, George's character in this movie is a net positive. So the advocate said that often the gay best friend can be an important first step in introducing queer storylines to mainstream audiences. And I think that is a lot of what Rupert Everett's character in this movie was. It was kind of like, look at this awesome gay guy. Like, don't you want to like see him in more movies? Don't you want to see characters like him in more movies? Wouldn't you like to watch a movie about a gay character? It's kind of a way of like introducing mainstream audiences to gay people are just like you. In fact, they might even be cooler than you. Why don't you, accept them on your screens? But then the advocate goes on to say, the GBF trope had a tendency to reinforce stereotypes about gay men, that their only interests are makeovers, shopping, and drama, that their struggles and relationships fade into the background unless they're supporting a straight person's story, and that they only exist to be wise oracles about love and romance. And I don't really see how you can escape seeing George also being put into that box a little bit. I mean, I don't think he's totally stereotypical, like he's not like trying to be her fashion advisor, but he is being kind of a wise oracle, for better or for worse. And we never meet his partner. I didn't even realize he had a partner until the last time I rewatched it. He has a partner named Werner, apparently. They're going to the Hamptons. He was probably late for their thing in the Hamptons. Yeah, so I guess my hope is that like we can see more and more. And I still don't think we're seeing this. I still don't think we're seeing enough I don't think we're seeing enough gay mainstream movies just like hit it big, and it's a pity.
They're coming. I think they're coming.
I mean, we had Moonlight a few years ago, won the Oscar, which was fantastic. So I think that's a step in the right direction anyway. Moving on, we're going to get back to the storyline. Julianne is on the phone with George, and she's in her underwear after a dress fitting, and suddenly Michael busts in, and it's very inappropriate in this scene. Like, he's alluding to the fact that he's seen her more naked before when she tries to put clothes over herself. And then as he leaves, he says, "You look really good without your clothes on." I mean, does this seem like appropriate behavior for someone who's about to get married? I don't know.
I think it's a very uncomfortable way to set up the possibility that Jules wins in the end.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. And you're like, oh, he does like her. Yeah.
And I don't think they ever deny that. I don't think they ever deny that there's like attraction between them or any of those things. And I guess that stuff just it wouldn't necessarily go away, even if he is getting married.
Yeah. Anyway, it made me not like Michael as much, I guess. Or it made me like, I think in this movie, we're meant to see Julianne as the primary like villain, but it made me think like Michael is kind of, leading her on a little bit there or planting a seed there and not necessarily being true to Kimmy at that point. And
my thought is there are no heroes here, only protagonists.
That's great. I like that. But this, like, his reaction to her naked or not naked in her underwear is what inspires her to plot against Kimmy actively. She says to George, she's toast. So her first phase of the plot is pretty kind of harmless still. She's just trying to look appealing and trying to be appealing and tell Michael that she's changed and she can do the love stuff, and showing up at this baseball game where he's there with all these dudes that he works with in her little like midriff top and like holding all the beers and giving guys beers and like basically strutting around. I mean, okay, maybe it's not nice of her to do that, but she's not really breaking any rules there. Second phase of the plot, though, we go into Ed's area of expertise. Julianne finds out that Kimmy cannot sing at all, can't sing a note, and she knows that Michael likes karaoke. She invites Kimmy and Michael to this karaoke bar, pretends that she didn't know it was a karaoke bar, and then honestly, I have no idea how she finagles it so Kimmy's singing, because normally you go to a karaoke bar that crowded, you're waiting an hour to sing. What do you think about that, Ed?
It had to be a setup because the host comes right over and talks to Kimmy directly. That doesn't just happen.
Yeah. Like she bribed somebody. She called ahead something. Yeah. So Julianne sets it up for Kimmy to sing. And we're going to listen to a little bit of Kimmy's vocal stylings right here. And then I'm definitely going to want to hear Ed's commentary about this scene.
Don't know just what to do with myself. I'm so used to doing everything for you. Planning everything for two. And now that we're through, I just don't know what to do with my time. I'm so lonesome for you. Crime, going to a movie.
Yeah, as we can see, everybody in the end of the scene is with Kimmy then. So, yeah. So, Ed, as a karaoke regular, like, what do you make of this scene? Like, what do you think it teaches us about karaoke or says about it?
Well, one, I've never seen a bar that packed and that big before in all of my travels. So I want to go to that bar. But I'm bothered by the person who shouts, "You suck" at the beginning.
Yes.
I feel like that's like, I would have thrown them out of the bar. Me as a patron, I probably would have caused some trouble. But I love that she commits to it and keeps going and wins the crowd over. I mean, there's nothing sadder to me than when somebody gets up and like gives up a little way through because it's not going as well as they thought that it would.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the moment I fall in love with Kimmy. I'm like, wow, she committed to that. She had fun with it. Like, yeah, no, at this point I'm rooting for Kimmy and not Jules.
Yeah. And do you think, so like from your experience in going to a lot of bars, do you think it's kind of realistic, like how the scene goes for her then? Like how maybe at first the audience is a little cold and then they really warm up to her? Or do you think they'd be warm the whole way or?
No, I mean, I've seen that happen. I've seen it where it's been warm the whole way, and I've seen where people like warm up throughout.
Yeah.
I just think it's very endearing that she really gives it her all, even if that's all her all is.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I've never actually heard anyone shout "You suck," and I've seen some really bad karaoke performances. Even drunk people, I've never seen any like people who are clearly too drunk to be singing and like yelling into the microphone. I've never seen anyone actually say "You suck." I have seen a KJ take a microphone away if they were actually damaging the equipment, but that's about it. Would you say that's about what you've seen?
Yeah, and I think it's a really odd song choice for the context.
Oh yeah.
Like, they put her in for a breakup song, or she chose a breakup song. They never really established who picked that song, but that's kind of foul play if Jules picked the song for her.
Well, this is another Dusty Springfield song that's in the movie. So Wishing and Hoping and this are both Dusty Springfield. So I think it's more of like a PJ Hogan likes these songs. But it's also kind of interesting because it's like very Kimmy to me. Like there's a moment in the movie where she thinks she and Michael are breaking up and she's like, I'll just die. Like, she's crying. She's hysterical. She's like, I'll just die if we break up. And I'm like, I could see Kimmy at 20, this 20-year-old who's like really poured herself into this man, being that character in that song if they were to break up. So I think for me, that's where it's coming from. Either PJ Hogan loves Dusty Springfield, it's a commentary on Kimmy's kind of love, or both. Okay, so I just also wanted to ask, like, Ed, like, what would be the worst song? Or can you imagine, like, what would be the worst song somebody could pick for you at karaoke? And do you think you would? I think you would power through it. I think I already know the answer to that. But what do you think?
I've literally I've powered through so many things before. I don't really think there is a worst song because there's nothing I won't do in a karaoke bar. If I want to sound good, it can't be like the Bee Gees, but I'd still go through a Bee Gees song. I just can't sing high, but
what would you do then?
I'd probably just try to sing it where I could.
Yeah.
I can't do falsetto. I don't understand it. I'm physically incapable. But like, there's not a song that I won't try to power through. Again, I sing songs I've never heard before at karaoke. Sometimes I literally just did that this past weekend because some girl who was there is like, "Oh, it's your birthday. I'll sing whatever song you want." And she picked a Miley Cyrus song I had never heard of. I'm like, "All right, I'll do that."
Yeah, see, it
wasn't good, but I did it.
That's where I would have trouble. Like, I think you could put any song in there and I would try my best. But if there was a song where like I don't even know the melody, like I'd be like, okay, or the rhythm, I'd be like, okay, I'm out, guys. Like, I don't want to subject anyone to this. So I'm just like dropping the mic on that one. But other than that, I think I would sing anything. Serena, do you have any things that you think if somebody gave you at karaoke, you would just like, would be the worst thing? And would you power through? Would you try?
I mean, I feel like any song would be the worst song. I have a terrible singing voice. So, I mean, whatever anyone, I would be like, I can't do this.
So what would you do, though, if you were put in Kimmy's situation? Do you think you'd put down the mic and, like, no shame putting down, or would you try to sing it?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Do you relate to her character because of, like, your shared non-singing?
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
Yeah, and apparently Cameron Diaz actually related to the situation, too, because she was originally told that she was going to be lip-syncing this section, okay? And then PJ Hogan decided it would be better for the movie if he just had surprised Cameron Diaz and had her sing the song live with karaoke monitors, just like she was really doing karaoke. And that way he would capture some real embarrassment. And that's what he did. He changed it at the last minute. Her embarrassment was real. She said in interviews, "I wanted to run and hide, but Dermot kept me there." And she was really legitimately feeling emotions about this. And I guess she can sing to some extent now. She was in the remake of the musical Annie, playing Mrs. Hannigan, but she did a lot of training for that. And she said to people that like her voice is actually probably naturally much closer to her character of Kimmy than to like being able to do musicals. She might have been just being modest there, though. So, yeah, this scene does make you root for Kimmy too. Like, I agree with you, Ed. Like, I had respect for her just doing her best, putting on her game face, trying her hardest. So I liked her in this scene. Any other karaoke thoughts? I'm sorry, I don't know what bar it was or if it was a real bar. Probably not, I think.
I'm sad that we didn't get to hear Dermot Mulroney do anything in that scene.
Oh, yeah.
Agreed, yeah.
Yeah, we just hear that random guy singing I Am Woman, which I'm like, is he doing it ironically for fun? I don't know. I don't really like the song I Am Woman in karaoke. It never really does much for me. But okay, so we now get into the third phase of Julianne's evil plot. She wants to get Kimmy to piss off Michael by having her father offer him a job via Kimmy. And we know this is something that would piss off Michael because Julianne talked to him about it. And like, you know, haven't you thought that like maybe her father would offer you a job, maybe Kimmy would like you to work for him, and he doesn't want to sell out. He considers it selling out. And for me, the section of the movie where Kimmy approaches Michael with this job makes Michael so distasteful to me that I don't like him for the rest of the movie. I take it you guys didn't have that reaction.
No, not really.
Actually, I kind of did.
Okay.
He acted poorly during that scene. She acted poorly during that scene. And the thing that boggles my mind is, how do you guys not realize that she is setting this up, that Jules is setting this up?
Yeah.
Like, how are you not picking up on this? What is wrong with you?
I can see how Michael might not realize it, but like for Kimmy not to get it at that point, I don't know. She's kind of a guileless person, I guess. Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, but like they're at this nice dinner, like they're having a nice lunch together or something in this nice restaurant. And when Kimmy presents this job offer, his reaction is just like so angry. He's like his voice is kind of raising. And even when Julianne, like his best friend supposedly, like encourages him to kind of consider the offer, he's still angry. And he gets angry at Kimmy. And for a moment, she asserts herself. She says, "What? All of a sudden, I'm supposed to drop out of school, forget my family, forget my career, forget about all the things I had planned for my life?" And when she stands up for herself, he gets even more angry at her. And he's almost yelling at her in this fancy restaurant. And then she starts crying. He's still mad at her. And he's still not really softening. He's about to leave. He says, "Fine, I'm the asshole. I'm an insensitive, sexist asshole." And like when he said that in the movie this time when I watched it, I'm like, yeah, you are. I'm just like, don't like let him go, Kimmy. But as he starts to leave, after he says that, Kimmy just breaks down crying. She's just like, seems like she's just losing it. And she completely and utterly, like totally surrenders the idea. She says, "You're so right. You have to forgive me and forget this ever happened, or I'll just die." And she's saying this through tears. And I just felt so bad for her then. I'm like, she's 20. Like, I mean, at that age, like, it's just so easy to kind of like fall in love and forget yourself. And like, here's this 28-year-old guy, like letting her. And it just made me sad. So this,
now see, here's where I start to like Kimmy less, because that's classic manipulator behavior.
What's that?
That's abusive, saying you can't, or I'll just die. Like, no, like, don't.
I mean, I don't think she meant it literally. If she was saying I'm going to kill myself, I think that would be a little different. But like, I didn't take it as like she was actually making a threat. I think she was just expressing how sad she was and didn't have any other words for it. But you just take that as like, oh, she's manipulating. Yeah, I feel like they're both manipulating each other to some extent, though. I will agree with that.
Again, the only good person in this entire movie is George.
Serena, are you still okay with Michael here? Like, how do you feel about it?
I don't know. I don't mind it. I understand like where he's coming from, because he's already like kind of on the fence about this whole thing, because this wedding, this whole thing seems very rushed, right?
Yeah.
Like it seems like this is a very new relationship. And I do think that throughout this whole thing, like he's on the fence. And I think things are like coming up. I don't think that they've really explored this relationship as much as one should before getting married. Oh, yeah. So I think it's just bringing up a lot of emotions, for them.
Yeah.
And he's just really unsure. I don't necessarily think that he's in the wrong here by getting upset. And I don't see him getting like overly aggressive. Like he's angry, but like that's a legit emotion. Like it's not.
Yeah, just for the setting. I think the contrast with the setting they're in, kind of.
Because they're at a restaurant?
Yeah, and like he's quite loud compared to the volume of. Anyway, that's how it struck me.
Oh. Oh, okay.
I also think there's a
Yeah.
little bit of what Dan Savage called the campsite rule at play here, where if you date somebody younger, you're supposed to like kind of leave them in better condition than you found them, or that really applies to breakups. But I think it's just also applies to like if you're the older person in a relationship. And whereas I don't think 8 years is necessarily a huge age gap, but at 28 and 20, you're at very different points in your life. And I feel like Michael could have had more consideration for watching out for her best interests in that situation. I mean, granted, she's from this wealthy family. It's not like she's going to starve, right? But like just watching out for the person you love's, like their ambitions and their personhood. So yeah, that's all. Okay, so now Julianne calls George in, and George comes to see her, and he encourages her to just tell Michael the truth. And for a moment, maybe it'll all work out. But what happens instead is, in the middle of trying to tell Michael the truth, he gives her the ring to hold on to, and she chickens out. And we find out that she has told Michael that George is her fiance, and she's roped George into her fake fiance scheme. While this leads to some of the most hilarious things in the movie, I feel bad for George. Can you guys see going along like George does and pretending to be the fiance?
I mean, I think he just does it almost to like teach Jules a lesson. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to go along with this. Sure.
And pointedly does it in the most obnoxious way possible.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I have a clip of him behaving obnoxiously that I can play really quick. And this is when George comes to the rehearsal, I think, and meets some of Kimmy's family there. So I'll play that real fast.
Underplay.
Got it. Hey! I'm Jules' fiance, George. Just in time for a quick pre-conjugal visit, if you catch my drift. I do.
You're gonna humiliate me, aren't you?
Only if I can.
Okay, just one thing. Stay away from...
I don't know why I'm so carried away. It's so.
Against God's plan?
No! Oh no! It's just wonderful. You have to meet George.
George.
You must be Kimmy's little sister.
Oh.
Julianne's fiance. They're going to be married.
No.
Yes.
What's going on? Julianne's getting married.
Oh,
no.
why didn't you tell us? It hasn't really been time.
I wanted to shout it from the rooftops, but Jules said no. Pumpkin, no. This is Kimmy's day. Let's not take the attention away from Kimmy.
Oh.
Dear, sweet, adorable, chocolate-covered Kimmy. Those were her very words.
I think I'm gonna cry. Me too.
George, this is so sweet of you to come to our rehearsal. I insist you stay on to lunch.
Oh, yes. No, absolutely.
Love to. Love the bag, love the shoes, love everything. Love to.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I love him so much in this scene. When he says against God's plan, it was really hard not to laugh. Yeah, love George. Anyway, so this is the beginning of this, and then, of course, he stays on to their rehearsal dinner, which is held at that seafood restaurant, as you mentioned, Serena, with the lobster claws.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice the lobster claws until this rewatch, but they...
Oh, really? Because, like, when I'm like, what are they supposed to be? Like, I was watching it, and I was like, so they can't be, like, servers. Are they just, like, mascots? Randomly in the restaurant wearing these, like, lobster claws?
Yeah.
I don't...
Are they operating some kind of seafood grill? I don't know. It's all a big mystery.
Yeah.
Okay, so some people don't like this scene. I think it was Sybil who said she hates this scene. For me, this is my favorite scene in the entire movie. It's the Say a Little Prayer sing-along scene. And what brings this sing-along about is that George tells a fake story of how he and Julianne met. And it is like the most hilariously gay meeting story that you could tell about falling in love with a straight woman. Like you said, there's a Rock Hudson reference in it. So basically he says that he went to a mental institution to visit someone who thought they were Dionne Warwick and saw like her coming out of visiting some other person. And he said to his friend, "Dionne, who is this vision? Qu'est-ce que c'est cette vision? Surely she must be the understudy to some fabulous Broadway star." And then he says, "I knew that someday we would end up like this, like some glittering Doris Day Rock Hudson extravaganza. And that is just so pointed to put in the Rock Hudson part, like a gay man who was forced to hide his sexuality to play straight men in his career. I mean, obviously that's why that's there.
I'm just shocked that Sybil hated this part because this is clearly the best part of the movie. This is just my favorite. It's so charming. It breaks out into a very long musical break and everybody gets involved and it's just so cute and charming.
Yeah, it really is. And like, I don't think the song Say a Little Prayer was on my radar much before I saw this movie, but now I just love this song and I associate it with this movie now. And you're right, everyone participates. There's the older man who breaks out into this really great bass part. Everyone in the restaurant is singing at a certain point. One of those lobster guys starts playing on the piano and it becomes a whole restaurant sing-along. And like you notice though, the only two people in the restaurant who aren't jazzed about this are Julianne and Michael. So to some people that might indicate they're perfect for each other. To me, that indicates both of these are people who need other people to lighten them up, potentially. What do you guys think?
I never thought about it. I mean, the thing was, I felt like she was embarrassed by the show George was putting on, and Michael was showing his jealousy.
Okay, that's true too. That's also possible.
That's
you might
what
be right,
I took
actually.
from it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great song number. Serena, do you like the song number? Like, where do you stand on it?
Yeah, I mean, it was well done, that's for sure. Because it's really funny in a lot of ways, like what's going on in the background, like all the other people in the restaurant are really funny, and it's just really lighthearted. And I think that's where the contrast is. It's like it is very lighthearted, but then you do see Michael and Jules, and they are like frowny faced. So it's like they are more of these like darker characters amongst this like lighthearted fun, you know?
Yeah. I'm also really glad Rupert Everett got to show off his vocal chops in this. So yeah, it's him singing. So he's really good at it. So the scene itself was not in the original script either. It was not Ronald Bass's idea. In fact, he was kind of opposed to it. It was PJ Hogan's idea. PJ Hogan, right there. That's what he does in movies. And this is a quote from Scott Meslow's book, From Hollywood with Love, from an interview he did with Ronald Bass. Ronald Bass was talking to PJ Hogan and says, I said, you realize, don't you, this is a 6-minute scene where they're just fucking singing a song. And then PJ Hogan said to him, apparently, he said, yeah, I wish it was 10. And I think it's a perfect length, but I would have also sat around for 10-minute sing-along.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you pointed out, Ed, Michael's starting to feel jealous. Julianne shows George off to the airport, says that she's not really engaged to George, building lie upon lie, and she was just letting him save face. And Michael says, I was jealous when George showed up and wants to hang around with Julianne alone. And they're on a boat, and we get to hear some of Michael's thoughts on the wedding, their relationship, etc. I think it's one of probably, in my opinion, the most moving scenes in the movie, and one of the only scenes where I really kind of like Michael and Julianne together. So here it is.
I've been thinking a lot the last couple of days. About us, I mean.
Have you? Well, there are a lot of memories to choose from, I guess.
It's more than that. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing to say it this way, but you've sort of been, you know, the woman in my life.
You've been the man in mine.
And I was thinking this could be our last time alone, together, you know.
Except for that hot affair we'll have twice a year.
Except for that. I mean, you commit to this wedding, and then it seems like this momentum, and then you forget you chose it. You and I in our relationships with other people, we didn't use the word love a lot, did we? Kimmy says if you love someone, you say it. You say it right then, out loud.
Otherwise, the moment just
Passes you by.
passes you by.
Okay. Yeah. I really love that moment where he says the moment passes you by because they're passing under a bridge into the dark. There's this moment where they could kiss. They're looking at each other like that and they don't kiss. They don't say anything. It literally passes them by. I think it's one of the most beautiful combinations of script and visual I've seen in a romantic comedy.
It is a nice scene. I think this is the part. I mean, I know they don't like allude to it all, and she talks about Jules talks about in the beginning of the movie that her and Michael had 1 month of a hot affair or whatever, right?
Mhm.
But like when they're talking like this, it seems like there was so much more than just like best friends for all these years. Like, do you think that they were like getting together and like hooking up like over the years? Because that was the impression that I started to get. Because I mean, this was more, and even when he said like you were like the woman in my life, like I feel like they were in some sort of like almost not like an open relationship, but definitely like a friends with benefits over the years kind of thing.
I could see that. I didn't pick up on that while watching it, but that makes a lot of sense.
So, yeah, like after this moment passes them by, Michael's also saying he's having sort of doubts about the wedding. They don't even have a song. Him and Kimmy don't even have a song. And apparently him and Jules do. And it's The Way You Look Tonight, which he starts singing to her and asks her to dance with him. And so he's like singing to her this romantic song, their song, dancing on this boat. Quite romantic. What do you guys think about that part?
I have to look into this director more because the more I hear about him, there's no way that song was not chosen for this reason. It was written by Dorothy Fields and Jerome Kern. It first premiered in the Astaire Rogers movie Swing Time, which is about a guy getting cold feet about his marriage, going off to earn a fortune to get a chance to get her back, and then falling in love with someone else.
Wow. So you think PJ Hogan is just making deliberate connections here, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's my core belief on this movie now. I think we talked about it in advance of this, and I was like, ooh, yes. No, I'm sure of this. PJ, if you're listening, let us know.
Definitely. Feedback at everyromcom.com. I would love to talk to PJ Hogan. Do you guys, at this point, did you want them at all to get together? Like, I think this is the closest I came to wanting them to get together for the whole movie.
Yeah, but like you said, you know, it would have just ruined everything if they had, you know, like, I don't know. There is sort of this like wonderful melancholy about this scene, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And neither of them are the type who can bust through that awkwardness or fear to get to the moment not passing them by. Or maybe just Michael doesn't want to be with Julianne too. I think we're supposed to think that maybe he wants to kiss her too under that bridge, but maybe he just doesn't want to. But clearly she does not have it in her to use that moment and not let it pass her by. And Kimmy will not let those moments pass her by. Which, yeah, 100% Team Kimmy here on that. Okay, so, and about the song, like having a song, do you guys think it's important to have a song with a significant other? Have you had songs with your significant others?
I don't think it's important because not everybody is that musically inclined, but I've had songs with significant others.
Serena, how about you?
Yeah, I'm not really like have a song kind of person.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not really my thing. I have songs that remind me of people or I think of them when I hear them, but I don't think it's like a mutual, like, oh, this is ours.
Yeah. I think even I have a song with Lee, but I think to a certain extent, it might be more like a song that I chose to represent us and he went along with it. I mean, he likes the song, but I think he went along with it because he's not like I'm going to pick a song kind of a guy. So we have Such Great Heights from the Postal Service because I bought that CD like the week we got together, was playing it all the time. And like the lyrics of that song reminded me of our relationship because we fell in love very suddenly, very intensely. And a lot of people around us were like, what are you doing? And we were so it's like, they will see us waving from such great heights, come down now. They'll say, So I kind of related it to everyone else kind of wanted us to come down from the high, and we were just like up there having a great time. So that's kind of why it became our song, and it still kind of is. If I play it, he knows why I'm playing it. But yeah, Lee's not really the kind of person that feels it necessary to choose a song either. Although he is quite romantic and will make me like little mixes and stuff like that from time to time. So yeah, I don't think it's necessary for people to have a song either. Like Ed said, if you're not musically inclined, it doesn't even make much sense. But it seems to be important to Michael on some level. Okay, so moving on from this scene, we get to Julianne's final sabotage. She does not have the courage to tell Michael that she's in love with him or to kiss him at this point, but she does have somehow the nerve to go to Kimmy's dad's office and write an email to Michael's boss, asking Michael's boss to fire him so he will come work for Kimmy's dad. Like, I cannot in a million years imagine having the nerve or the desire to do that.
Yeah, I absolutely disliked her in this moment. That was just so extra.
Yeah, and it's like, is this her usual personality? Is she this cutthroat in general? Or are we just supposed to feel like she's been driven to this by love? I don't know. Or by what she thinks is love.
I mean, she's not even just only impacting Kimmy and Michael. She's impacting Kimmy and her dad. She's impacting, like, there's so many things at play that it's a very selfish action.
Yeah, Michael and his job, his career. Yeah. Yeah, kind of everything. And like, honestly, like, how, even if this succeeded in breaking them up, wouldn't the truth come out eventually? Or some suspicion of the truth? I mean, and also, like, at this point, she's also lied about George having been engaged to her. So if she ever did get together with Michael, she has left such a trail of lies behind her. I don't know how she would ever recover from all of them. But she's not thinking very clearly, apparently. So Michael, like, the email, I guess, oh my God. And Lee was laughing so hard at this computer and the email setup. I was too when I noticed it. It's so ancient. There was something where, like, she was typing this email on this, like, really old screen. And, like, then it was like do you want to save this or send it now? And, like, she decides to save it. And then there's this convoluted thing where the guy tells his secretary to send out all the emails. Like, I guess later she was just going to, like, show Michael this email. I'm not even sure what her move was there.
Yeah, I think that's what she was going to somehow lure Michael into that office and show him the email without sending it.
Yeah, it's
so that Michael would get that impression without actually doing the deed.
Yeah, it's a really weird, convoluted scheme. Anyway, that email does get sent. Michael gets a fax from his boss about this email, letting him know that he shouldn't get married to this person because this is the kind of situation he's dealing with. And Michael decides he's going to confront everybody at a pre-wedding brunch the next day. So we go to the pre-wedding brunch and we get, like, kind of the normal wedding stuff that you see. Like, you get the fancy decorations, the balloons, the flowers, the big food displays that you usually see in a wedding movie. But it's really all just the backdrop, because what's going on now is Julianne's kind of running it as a go-between between Michael and Kimmy and trying to sort out the situation. And what both of them want to know is the other person okay? They're both asking about each other and are they okay, even though they're breaking up. And that was the moment to me where I'm like, okay, these people really do love each other. Like, I don't think it's necessarily healthy for them, but they love each other. Like, they're in this moment, they're in this moment of, like, interpersonal stress, but their first concern is actually for the other person.
Yeah, like what they're thinking, what they're feeling.
Yeah. And so now Julianne's the go-between between them, and, like, they're both saying they want to get married. But in this last-ditch move, now Julianne confesses to Michael that she loves him, and she kisses him. And Kimmy sees this, and Michael sees her seeing it and running away, and so Michael begins chasing her. And, well, first, do you guys have thoughts about this confession before we go to the next scene?
Again, it's just really showing, like, how unhinged Jules is. Like, what is going through your head? Like, what? I mean, I guess I can understand in some ways. I guess I have been in some situations where I just felt like a word vomit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what the consequences are. I'm just going to say what I need to say, you know? So I kind of understand that. It's almost like she's built herself up to this point and there was, like, no alternative for her, really.
Yeah.
Because it's like all of her actions were so heinous. It's like she had to, like, come to this climax, you know? even though I think she knew as well that it was over at this point.
Yeah, at least part of her brain did. Yeah, I think so. I mean, and I understand confessing your feelings. I just would have done it sooner. Like a
Yeah,
little sooner.
yeah.
Like, yeah, and yeah, I guess she spoke now or forever held her peace. There you go.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So Kimmy sees her kiss Michael. She runs off. Michael runs after Kimmy. And now Julianne chases Michael. And we've got this tropey rom-com chase scene where Julia Roberts is driving a bread truck going after their cars. And the best moment, what makes this chasing work at all, is that Julianne gets on the phone with George and he says, Michael's chasing Kimmy. You're chasing Michael. Who's chasing you? No one. Got it? That is one of the best lines in the movie, in my opinion. Does this scene work for you guys, or you could have lived without it?
No, you need this scene because that line from George is exactly what's needed in the moment.
Remarkably, that line from George was not originally in this scene. They just had a chase scene and she didn't call George. Can you believe that?
No. Because I don't think it gets through her head until he says that.
Yeah. And she's like, oh yeah. And she finds Michael at the train station. Julianne realizes that, she's fucked up. She's lost. She confesses everything she's done, including sending the email to the boss. And then she basically says that she's pawn scum, and he agrees, but he forgives her very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that speaks to their history, or it speaks to the movie needing to come to an end. And she tells him she's going to help him find Kimmy. And somehow she's the one who finds Kimmy first. And this is where Kimmy actually gets her moment to stand up for herself.
So yeah, this is the part where at the end, Jules figures out that Kimmy is at it's like her father's stadium, right? Is that what it was alluded to in the beginning?
Yeah, I think so.
Someone had spotted her, a security guard had spotted her going into the bathroom. So Jules starts calling out to her, and yeah, then Kimmy basically just gives it to Jules. And it's the one time when Kimmy isn't so sickeningly sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole crowd of women there, and they're all cheering Kimmy on. And, what are some of the things that she says? You're a big-haired, two-bit
food critic. An insult, apparently. I don't know.
Yeah, how dare you come into my life, and I made you a bridesmaid. You try to steal my husband the day before I was going to get married.
Yeah, on the one hand, I don't love scenes where women are having these fights with each other. On the other hand, Kimmy needed a scene where she stood up for herself, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then also the scene ends with Julianne. Did she actually apologize, or did she just say you won? One or the other. Well, she makes some kind of apology, a gestured apology. She says, you've won. He loves you. I'm going to get you to the wedding. Kimmy remarkably forgives her. I think that speaks to Kimmy's just really loving character. Do you think that is believable?
I think it's believable with the way she's portrayed. I think it's kind of amazing. I don't think I, in the same position, would have been as quick to re-embrace Jules.
Yeah.
If I were Kimmy.
Yeah. I mean, I see also that it creates a sense of harmony if she forgives her and that's her, future husband's best friend. But yeah, that would be a lot to deal with, finding that all out at once. So we move on to the wedding. The wedding's kind of as opposed to a lot of rom-coms, the wedding isn't a super big part of the movie. We do see the bridesmaids' entrance. We do see a little look between, Julianne and Michael, where they're kind of saying goodbye to each other in a way, I guess. And they get married, and we move very quickly on to the reception. And at the reception, Julianne gives a gracious toast, saying she dreamt that a psychopath was trying to break up their marriage, but then she woke up and was happy because her best friend had found the best woman. And she says that she hasn't gotten them a gift, but instead she's going to give them Michael and her's old song, The Way You Look Tonight. And they do their first dance then to The Way You Look Tonight. Michael and Kimmy leave. Michael stops to say goodbye to Julianne before leaving. And then we see Julianne kind of alone at a table, just kind of looking dejected. And anything you want to say about this before we play a clip of what happens next?
I do kind of like the part where she's like waiting, where he does come back and say goodbye to her. I don't know. There's just something very like significant about that.
Yeah.
Which was sort of nice. It was like a letting go moment or something.
Yeah, but him letting her know, like, you'll still be in my life. Like,
yeah. Like, you're still important.
Yeah. Okay, so now we come to one of, I think, the best endings in any romantic comedy ever. Julianne gets a call from George, which we will play right now, and then we'll talk about it.
I can just picture you there sitting alone at your table in your lavender gown.
Did I tell you my gown was lavender?
Hair swept up, haven't touched your cake. Probably drumming your fingernails on the white linen tablecloth, where you do when you're really feeling down. Perhaps even looking at those nails thinking, God, I should have stopped in all my evil plotting to have that manicure. But it's too late now.
George, I didn't tell you my dress was lavender.
Suddenly, a familiar song.
The moment I wake up.
Then you're off your chair in one exquisite movement. Wandering, searching, sniffing the wind like a dappled deer. Has God heard your little prayer? Will Cinderella dance again? And then, suddenly, the crowds part. And there he is. Sleek, stylish, radiant with charisma. Bizarrely, he's on the telephone. But then, so are you. And he comes towards you. The moves of a jungle cat. And although you quite correctly sense that he is king, like most devastatingly handsome single men of his age are, you think, what the hell? Life goes on. Maybe there won't be marriage. Maybe there won't be sex. But by God, there'll be dancing.
Yes. Even without seeing it, that scene gives me satisfaction. And when you do see it, you get to see them dancing together. And Rupert Everett's facial expressions add so much to the character, too. I just love this ending. I love Rupert Everett's performance. I love George. I wish I had a friend like him. Yeah.
The thing I love about it is it's a happy ending, and it goes into how important platonic love can be, but she doesn't leave with a romance, and I don't think she should in this movie.
Yeah, I agree. I do like that it ended on kind of a lighter note. I do think it's pretty amazing that she has this friend that like flew out from New York like twice in the same week, like just to cheer her up.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's amazing. But you know, maybe he had frequent flyer miles or something. Who knows? Yeah, I do really like this scene. It's I think I do have some friends that not necessarily would fly out to see me 2 times, but would definitely like come see me in like a time of need. So obviously this was a hard blow for Jules.
Yeah. And maybe he likes weddings too. I don't know. Maybe he likes dancing. I don't know. Pretty good party anyway. But yeah, a lot of it is just being that trope though of the person who like they revolve around the protagonist, and like I think that's true of a lot of the straight best friends in these movies too. But yeah, still just like I love this ending. To me, it's one of the happiest endings in rom-coms, even though it's not a happy ending. Like some people have learned lessons, and you have this awesome friend who's there for you, and you get to dance. Like, come on, it's awesome. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So apparently, though, the movie originally had a very different ending, and I saw it too. I'm putting in the show notes a link to the video, which will hopefully still be available, so you can see how bad it is too. Originally, they had Julianne meeting a new love interest at the wedding, played by John Corbett. Okay, you know, from My Big Fat Greek Wedding and Sex and the City. Mm-hmm. And
Mhm.
it's just so stale and cliched. And also, like, apparently test audiences hated it because they felt like Julianne needed to be punished, not rewarded. And it really made them turn on her as a character. But, like, at the same time, the studio didn't want Julia Roberts to have, like, a totally down ending. So they decided to bring back George because he was really popular with the test audiences. And in bringing back George at the end, they also ended up beefing up his character throughout the entire movie. So this might be one of the instances in the histories of movies where test audiences have really contributed quite a bit to the movie getting better. Yeah, like I can't, if it had had the other ending, we wouldn't be talking about it on this show right now, I don't think.
Yeah, it would have just gotten lost in rom-com oblivion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can watch it? Is that what you were saying? You can
Yeah.
they actually filmed that alternate ending?
They filmed it and they showed it to test audiences. It wasn't the alternate ending then, it was the ending then. Oh, and also
wow.
at the end of the alternate ending, they have a whole thing where the people in the kitchen are singing Say a Little Prayer too, which it didn't really work either, unfortunately. Yeah. Anyway, if you're curious, you can watch it, and you can see how much better the movie got when you added more Rupert Everett in, and when you added like not having this cliched, stupid ending where this random guy just decides he wants to dance with Julianne. Let's see, we've already talked about this a little bit, but like, I just wanted to throw out the provocative question to you guys. So we're gonna go over the three main characters, and I wanted you to say on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do they suck? Okay, and why? So, Michael, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much does he suck? 10 being the suckiest.
6.
Serena?
Yeah, I'm going to go with like 5.
Oh, okay. I think I'm going to go with, I was leaning more towards 8 before, but I think I'm going to go with 7 because you guys have softened me towards him a little bit. Yeah, like I understand a little bit more about him now, I think. But yeah, it's mostly for me because of just not really thinking about Kimmy's future and the way he reacts to her when she has concerns about her future. That's what's a red flag for me. What causes your ratings?
I'm pretty neutral when it comes to like I don't think necessarily he's good or bad. It's just I just think that he's just kind of like a typical guy, you know? Like a lot of men don't really think about their girlfriends or wives' careers, you know? A lot of times men's careers do take precedence in relationships and especially in marriages. Like that's just our reality. And that was probably a huge reality in 1997. So it's like, can you really knock, you know, someone for just being a product of their society? I don't.
Okay. I respect that defense. All right.
He just seems a little bit worse than average to me. I mean, he's a bad communicator. So is Kimmy. So is Jules. Everybody needs some therapy. But yeah, I mean, he's not like egregiously bad. He's just a little worse than normal. Everybody sucks to some extent. So 6 is not like as harsh as it sounds coming from me.
Okay. All right. I gotcha. All right. We'll go with Julianne now. Scale of 1 to 10. How much does Julianne suck?
8.
Yeah, I'll say 7.
I'm going with 8 now. I think I was closer to you before, Serena, but like the more I think about just the indefensibility of some of the shit she's done in this movie, the more I'm like, I mean, I felt sorry for her before because I could understand being afraid to share your feelings, but like that doesn't justify doing unethical things to other people, you know?
Yeah. She's definitely a pathological liar.
I mean, characters in movies tend to be, unfortunately. I think there's way too many movies that rely on lying and ruses for their plots to advance, you know?
Fair enough, yeah.
Okay, and finally, Kimmy.
3.
I would say 4.
I'm going with 4 too, but I wonder if I should be more forgiving. She's young, and she's behaving like a young woman often does. Yeah. I'll go back to 3 because she's so nice too, and she is kind of genuine and she is honest. So yeah, I'm swayed. I'll go back to 3. I've talked myself into it. So what is unsucky or sucky about Kimmy then?
She's very genuine. She clearly has problems communicating and advocating for herself as well, but she doesn't do anything egregious in the entire movie.
I mean, I agree with that. I think I just put her in those numbers. I put her closer to Michael in being like the same sort of level of suckiness.
Okay. All right. And then I want to know, what do you think would be in the future for Michael and Kimmy? Do you think they would have worked as a couple in the future?
I give it 5 years.
All right, what's going to happen in 5 years?
Maybe 8. They don't have. I don't think that they're a good long-term match. They want different things out of life, I feel. They don't really like tell you that and that, but that's just my gut feeling on those two.
Yeah. And who do you think leaves who first?
I think she leaves him.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't think Michael ever grows up in what she would consider to be growing up.
So you think like that part of her is hoping that like he's going to change after they're married and he's going to like stop wanting to do this particular job and like things are going to change
and settle down and grow roots somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's what I predict. I predict that that kids are involved, that they definitely have kids, and then that's when Kimmy's mind starts to change. That's what I think will end up happening.
So do you think they're going to have kids even while he's on the road doing this job? Like,
oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think they'll have kids because I mean, what else is she going to be doing? Like that's going to be like the next thing. Like, oh, well, I didn't finish college. I don't have a career. So, I'll have some kids. But then when she does have kids, that's when she realizes that she kind of wants a different life, a different partner.
Yeah. And I think she's going to get a longing to go back to school. So I have kind of a different version of it. I think the initial honeymoon phase is going to fade out a little bit. And she's going to look around and be like, where's my life? And then she's going to remember how much fun she had in school, want to go back. And maybe they'll do long distance for a little bit. But I think eventually she's going to change because people do change a lot in their 20s. Okay, so for double feature recommendations, my first double feature recommendation, I've talked about it a lot during the podcast already, is PJ Hogan's breakout feature, Muriel's Wedding from 1994. If you like this movie, I think you will also like Muriel's Wedding. It also plays around with the idea of weddings and shows kind of darker sides of romance. It's not a rom-com. It's more of a friend comedy. Muriel is a character who's obsessed with ABBA and obsessed with getting married. And she thinks that if she gets married, her life will be better. But the movie ends up being more oriented around the friendship she develops with a girl she meets in, I think it's Sydney, played by Rachel Griffiths, and their relationship that they build together. And Muriel has to kind of come face to face with kind of her idealism of weddings and just the idea that she can escape, herself and her life in an easy way. Really very interesting movie. Lots of music in it, lots of ABBA music. I guess if you don't like ABBA, you might not like this movie, but if you like ABBA, you will love this movie. So that's my first recommendation.
I also love Muriel's Wedding. I love that movie. I picked There's Something About Mary, which came out in 1998, which was right after My Best Friend's Wedding. And it stars Cameron Diaz, plays the main female character. She plays Mary. I just chose this movie because it had Cameron Diaz in it again. And I think this has kind of solidified her again as like a hard hitter, at least at this time, in movies in the late 90s, because she was everywhere.
Yeah, I think this is considered her breakout role. There's Something About Mary. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And my first pick is also a Cameron Diaz movie. It's A Life Less Ordinary, where she's paired with Ewan McGregor in an unlikely romantic action comedy.
Yes, I vaguely remember this. Yes.
It's so odd. It's just such an odd movie, and it charms the hell out of me. And Delroy Lindo and Holly Hunter just eat up every scene that they're in. It's just fun.
Do I recall there also being a musical scene of some sort in that movie? Or
yes.
It's Ewan singing, right?
Yes,
okay.
I believe so.
Yeah, nice. So my second and third pick are going to have something thematically in common, but my second pick is Pretty Woman, starring Julia Roberts, obviously, from 1990. Yeah, like I said, I used to have kind of feminist reservations about this like kind of fairy tale version of what happens when a prostitute meets like a rich client, because obviously this is not a particularly realistic portrayal of that situation. But I have a weakness for it now. I just think her and Richard Gere are so good together in this movie. She is such a charismatic character to begin with, singing Prince in the bathtub, and like the scene where she goes shopping at the snooty boutique and they don't let her shop, and then she comes back and she's buys all the stuff with the guy's money, and she's like, big mistake, huge. I mean, it's just such a fundamental rom-com that people have referenced in future rom-coms. lots of fun clothes, lots of fun situations like going to the opera. Just if you like Julia Roberts, I think you will like this movie. And if you haven't seen it somehow, check it out.
My second feature, I chose Stepmom, which came out in 1998. It's one of my favorite Julia Roberts movies. It's a pretty sad movie, but I kind of, when I was trying to like pick movies that could be watched with my best friend's wedding, I was trying to pick a movie where Julia Roberts almost kind of flipped and played like the other side of the character that she's playing. If that, I mean, that's kind of a stretch, but where she is kind of playing like the one that gets the guy, you know, even though it's more nuanced than that in the story, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a stretch.
No, I don't think it's a stretch. I think that's exactly it now that I think about that movie.
I just don't remember it, but yeah, I think I saw it at one point.
You don't remember Stepmom?
No,
oh, man.
No.
It is like a cry fest. And it's, for me, it shows too, I like Julia Roberts' range as well. It has Susan Sarandon in it as well, who is wonderful.
And then my second and final is High Society, starring Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, and Grace Kelly, a musical reimagining of the Philadelphia Story. So again, we have a wedding-related love triangle at play, and people singing.
Okay, and my final recommendation, so I said it had something thematically in common with Pretty Woman, is The Wedding Date from 2005, where Dermot Mulroney plays an escort who Deborah Messing's character is taking to a wedding so that she will have a date to this wedding where her ex-boyfriend, and I guess actually ex-fiance who left her like pretty soon before the wedding, is going to be there. And she just wants to show up with this like kind of good-looking date. And I think Dermot Mulroney, like I said, I don't find Dermot Mulroney attractive in this movie, but I found him attractive in The Wedding Date. And I think it's because as his escort character, he's playing this kind of like emotionally intelligent, kind of sensitive guy. And he's also a little bit objectified at times, which you don't see a lot of guys putting themselves in roles where they're being objectified as much. And I respect that in an actor. Deborah Messing, I can kind of take or leave, but she does really good work in this movie. And Amy Adams shows up oddly too in a kind of an early role. I don't think it's like a fantastic rom-com, but it's certainly like an interesting one. And it's one of those things you can put on and just kind of relax and watch it. So yeah.
So my final pick is the 1987 movie Daddy. It's funny because when I was looking up other movies Dermot Mulroney had been in, this movie popped up, and I have these memories of it being played in like substitute teacher day in like middle school health class or something. Like I have these like vivid memories. I'm like, oh, that's where that movie came from. And it stars Patricia Arquette, and it's about a guy in high school who gets his girlfriend pregnant, and it's like their issues and problems and, you know, what happens. It's very 80s dramatic.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like, it's pretty intense, and it's so funny because I was like, oh my God, I totally remember this movie. So I just picked that because I thought it was funny, and it has a very young Dermot Mulroney in it, and Patricia Arquette, who I think is fantastic. So it's kind of interesting to see where people, you know, start their careers.
Man, health class was trippy back in the day. We watched like Degrassi Junior High, like in our health class half the time.
I know. They would almost show you these things to like scare you. They're like, here, we're going to show this to you. See what can happen.
Well, Degrassi, I think we did have some nice productive discussions, but yeah. So like, do you think that this is actually a high quality movie or just an interesting like time capsule for you?
I don't know. I would have to watch it again because I haven't seen it since that. It just like brought up some like vague, like core memories. I don't know. It was pretty serious, and it takes itself pretty seriously, if I do recall. Like there's nothing like really, it's not like a rom-com.
Yeah.
It's not like funny. It's just like, this is the bad things that can happen, or this is how serious having a baby in high school could be, you know?
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thanks everybody for your double feature recommendations. So upcoming on the show, the next episode after this should be Imagine Me and You, which I will be hosting with Sybil. And coming up, we should be doing movies including The Philadelphia Story, The Wedding Planner, and many more that are TBA. I think it's probably too late at this point to put in your wedding movie requests for this year, but I have a feeling we'll probably repeat this theme at some point in the future. So if there's a wedding movie you'd really like to see us cover, please write us at feedback@everyromcom.com. And please remember to check out Ed's work at sungpoorly.com. If you enjoy hearing him on our show, you will definitely enjoy hearing him on his show. So thanks so much, guys. Goodbye.